Sure. And if you want to pop out yours, just try to keep it like.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to just.
Oh, I was going to stand right here and watch.
Yeah, perfect.
Zach.
I'll give you a thumbs up when you're good.
All right, that's loaded.
Hey, can you ask him if Davis would be
Good
good?
athletes.
Davis would like you.
Hey, Zach.
Light or dark?
Mr. McCarley, you want to go live? You don't have to, but you want to go live with me? All right. Okay, everybody, for watching. Thank you so much for joining us right now for the Rainier Classic. We are back to watch this main event here. Now, unfortunately, we have a little bit of rain right now. But that being said, we're still making it work. We're not going to have the cameras directly on me and my co-host here, Mr. McCarley, but we can still enjoy the action with the cameras that we have and, listen to our sultry voices. Mr. McCarley, good morning.
Good morning to you and good morning to everybody listening. It seems that the atmospheric river has diverted directly upon the competition field, and it has been quite the torrential downpour, but that's all right because strongman doesn't stop for that.
No.
We don't stop for anything.
Well, it turns out Mother Nature decided that the show wasn't difficult enough and wanted to up the ante in terms of this regional contest. So here we are with the rain. That being said, we are well into the amateur division here in the Sandbag throw and carry medley. Zach, would you like to explain this event for anyone that's viewing this and might not understand what's going on?
So this is an interesting and unique event. I have never seen this kind of event. Have you?
Not once. Not
okay,
once.
So I think that I think this is a fun event. We're taking two types of lifting into account. We're taking a dynamic throwing event, and we're also taking a carry and load event. And what the athlete is going to need to do is there's going to be a total of 4 sandbags, 2 to be thrown, 2 to be carried and loaded. They will take the lighter of the 2 sandbags, throw it over a bar, and then go to the lighter of the 2 loading sandbags, carry it to the truck, load it on the truck, and then repeat for the heavier sandbag. So they'll go back, throw the second heavier sandbag over the bar, come back, and load the second heavier sandbag on the truck.
And on top of that, just looking at these sandbags, we know these also heavy sandbag carries. So you're going for essentially a dynamic explosive movement into honestly, for some individuals might be a max effort carry, a very anteriorly loaded, very heavy carry. So then having to repeat that into another throw, that's got to be incredibly difficult. Have you ever had to do anything like this yourself in your career?
I have had to do similar portions, but never this type of event together. In fact, I've never even seen this kind of event. And we do have it seems that we've had a last minute weight change as well. Mother Nature has kind of dictated it.
We've upped the weight.
We have definitely upped the weight. Each one of those sandbags is going to be not just wet and slick, but it's going to be a little bit waterlogged. And we're looking at an increase anywhere between 5 and 25 pounds, depending on the size of the bag.
Yeah, and for those overseas watching us, our UK friends, it really could be anywhere between 5 and even 10, 12 kilos added to the bag.
Absolutely.
That being said, it's really pertinent that we kind of thank our sponsor for this event in particular. If you've noticed, everybody, these red bags, those unique red bags, are sponsored by and provided by Cerberus. Cerberus Strength really is one of the biggest, not only just equipment companies, apparel companies, but the biggest supporting companies within the sport of strongman. Ultimately speaking, I don't know if another company sponsors more shows than Cerberus. So we want to give a huge shout out to Cerberus for providing the sandbags and resources required for such a great event like today.
Yeah, and they do an incredible job. They make some incredible equipment. I myself have some Cerberus wrist wraps and some Cerberus elbow sleeves.
Yeah, same. I have the figure 8s. I got the wrist wraps.
There you go.
Big shout out to Ken Nowicki, the North American representative of Cerberus. Thank you so much. Ken, you're the man. Not only a phenomenal competitor, but, guy really pushes the sport in a positive direction.
Yeah, if we want to wind it way back, Ken and I have actually competed together at several contests.
Really?
Yes.
What weight class were you guys doing? 105?
It was open. So he's a big boy, and I like to play with the big boys sometimes. Yeah. I go up and get knocked around a little bit. It was a good time.
Yeah. I mean, Ken is an incredible competitor, competed at many giant live shows, and now supporting the sport in the form of this company in the form of Cerberus and these sandbags. One thing to keep in mind, guys, is these athletes are throwing these sandbags over the bar. Their hands are going to be wet now. It's going to be slick on that release, so they're going to have a different release point than normal potentially.
Absolutely. So when athletes are throwing this bag, you do have to keep in mind that they have to release at the right time to get the correct trajectory to get that sandbag over the bar. If they release a little too early, it goes straight up and comes straight down, doesn't go over the bar, they got to throw it again. If they release a little too late, it goes under the bar and flies way behind the bar, and then they're going to have to run over, grab it, carry it back to the other side of the bar and throw it again.
And that's in good circumstances.
That is in good circumstances. That's not even taking into account the slickness of the competition field. They're going to have to pick these wet bags up and run back and forth as swiftly as possible because this is a timed event. If someone doesn't complete the event, it will be scored on how many implements have been completed. But most of these athletes at the top are going to be completing this event, which means it is a timed event. And so whoever does it the most swiftly will be first place and get the most points.
I mean, never mind the fact that in good conditions, this event is very difficult. But now in the rain, they have to consider like their eyesight's going to be affected. Their hands on the bag in and of itself. Honestly, if I was an athlete doing this event or someone that was coaching an individual doing this event, I would tell them whatever you did in the gym, slow it down by 10 seconds. Like, intentionally go slower. I think you'll end up actually placing much higher in a circumstance like this.
Yeah. So I'm not sure who this is in lane one, but her energy is unmatched.
She's been a star of this whole weekend.
She's been dancing. She's been just loving the competition. Like, and that's one of my favorite things about strongman competition.
I believe that's Leah Meredith. 82 kilo class in lane number 1 here.
She's
definitely
the spirit of the competition.
Yeah, she really is going for it. Big smiles yesterday during the events.
Yeah. All right, let's see how everybody does. All right.
So you see in lane number 2, just getting that bag over the bar, now going for the sandbag carry. See in lane 1, she's so close to getting that bag.
Yep. So the athlete in lane 2, that is, sorry, I'm not sure who that is, but I know that lane 2 has been struggling to get that first sandbag over the bar. So to throw it straight over on the first attempt is that's a really fantastic effort.
That might be Angelica Jardine.
Wow, and a second sandbag throw.
If that is Angelica, congratulations. That's an awesome throw there.
Yeah, so it looks
now
like
for that really heavy water-clogged bag.
Yeah, it looks like she has a great opportunity to complete this event. She's got to gather herself, get that sandbag up to the lap.
Take your time.
But it is an incredibly wet sandbag, and I can't stress enough. That means that you're not using chalk.
Right.
You're not able to use any grip aids. It is a slick canvas. And for the people at home that have never felt that, it is not a friendly material to work with.
No, it's we said this word a lot yesterday in relation to the events in a good day, but this is again just rude.
It is rude.
It's so rude.
It is so rude.
No, honestly, for me, this was the event that I was looking forward to seeing the most this weekend, the amateurs and the pro-am divisions, really because I've never seen it. I've never seen anyone combine these events. I think it's a really great example of just how different strongman can be, generally speaking. Huge shout out to Saul Peterson for coming up with this event.
Absolutely, yeah. I've really enjoyed some of the more unique events this weekend, and this one is quite exciting. I've never seen this combination of movements for, and with the added factor of the rain,
right?
It is absolutely a one of a kind event.
Yeah, I mean the only event I've ever seen sandbags and an ample amount of water was World's Strongest Man when they did a sandbag carry in a pool.
Yeah, and that I think that something that we should bring up is even those sandbags, I think they topped out at 275 or 250.
Yeah, they're only like 260, and they got massively waterclogged, of course.
And those that was incredibly challenging for some of the strongest athletes on the world
to deal with. Zydrunas fell over and almost drowned.
Yeah, with a sandbag in his arms.
Yeah.
And I think today we're going to be seeing some of our athletes go well in excess of 200 pounds.
Yeah, I very much agree. We could see here If we were to look at the men's amateur heavyweight division, their sandbags are 270 and 300
So
dry.
Yeah.
So they have heavier bags than World's Strongest Man competitors did, in a not too distant past.
Yeah, and so this is going to be a very, we'll see how they are able to handle this rain, because that is changing the conditions of this event rather tremendously.
Yeah. In a way, it is a different and unique challenge. If I was an athlete, I don't know if I would be upset about this. And the reality is, it's just an added. At the end of the day, everyone's in the same boat. It's a different challenge. Make the most of it.
Absolutely, I could not agree with you more. And that's one of the things that I do love about strongman is you have to be prepared for anything. There are variables that you can control. There are variables that you can predict, and then there are variables that you cannot control and cannot predict.
Could you think of a moment in your competition past history, maybe international shows, where something, a huge variable that was unpredictable kind of occurred to you, maybe even a similar vein?
Oh, well, actually, in a similar vein, in China in 2013, a couple of the Americans, Mike Mistel, Johnny Wasiko, and I were invited. Well, I think it was the Zhaoshan Strength Classic. I can't remember the exact name. It was in Chinese, and it was in China, in Zhaoshan. And day 2 was just torrential downpour, just as bad as we've seen here all day during the yoke, during the farmers, during the tire flip. Some of the athletes were refusing to flip the tire, and I said, well, guess what? That means I'm getting all the points.
Right.
And I went out there and I flipped that thing.
You win that event?
Well, I would have won it anyway, but yes, I won that event.
Nice. And it was a 105 kilo international show?
It was an open.
It was open, okay.
And yeah, I did go on to win that contest, but it was a fantastic experience. And if I had any opportunity to head back to China under those circumstances, I would absolutely go at the drop of a hat.
So what you're saying is
it was an amazing experience. I love
rain.
Oh yeah, no. If you are if you're looking at a contest that you've taken the last several months, and for some of these athletes the last several years to prepare for, rain's not going to stop you. No, not even close.
At the end of the day, odds are you already know what you're going to be able to do on the day.
Yep.
You might be a little colder than you expected, but we'll get it done. And again, I kind of think it's cool. It's a different challenge. Ideally speaking, I'm sure the athletes don't want to be wet, but at the end of the day, it's strongman.
Yep. There's so many firsts today, and I think that this might be the first live streamed strongman event that rain has tried to rain us out, and we said no. Yeah. No, not a chance.
Yeah, we lost a tent, we flipped the camera, but we're still in this right now.
Yep. Huge shout out to Swoop and that team. If you don't know who they are, it's Swoop Sound on Instagram.
That's right.
And
they're the ones providing a live stream for us this weekend.
Yeah. So if you have not already, please go check them out. Give them a follow, give them a couple likes. They are the ones that are really helping us to provide such a high quality of coverage and entertainment for you guys at home right now.
Absolutely. Here we go on our next heat here. We have Christina here in lane 1. We have actually 2 Dungeon RX members in lane 1 and 2.
Excellent.
So we see they are affected here by the grip. But lane 3 gets his bag over onto the sandbag carry.
Excellent. Yeah, and so I do think that this rain is impacting some of the athletes and their ability to put force into the sandbag. Not even just the grip is being a factor and how the handle is slick, but the sandbag is notably heavier.
Right.
I'm sure.
It's getting, like we mentioned before, it's going to be anywhere between 5 and 10 kilos heavier due to the water clog. And, it really, I would say confidence. It might affect your confidence to really put max output into this an event where you need it. You need to be able to put maximal dynamic effort into a throw. And lane number 3 gets the second bag throw.
Fantastic. Let's see if
Lane
can finish. He's and
almost done.
An aggressive start. He's going to make. Oh, wow. It looks like.
Just before.
Yeah, it looks like he did not quite get the load in time. But you know what? He's celebrating because he got the load for himself.
He did.
And so that's a big part of that is if I'm coaching an athlete and the whistle's about to go, I start yelling, load it anyway.
You finish it.
Load it anyway. Finish it. Finish it for you. Finish it for your team. Finish it for the people that you're representing it. And biggest of all, you got to finish strong. Okay, don't let the whistle stop you.
No.
Even if you're not going to finish on time, that's fine. You finish this damn event.
Yeah, again, that gentleman's going to be accredited with distance on that second bag, so that'll be count towards his overall score, and that's great because he got it just before the finish. But ultimately speaking to what Zach's saying, to know that you can do it regardless of the circumstances is arguably more important than maybe your end results. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all a work in progress, and that's a fact. And so for many of these athletes, this is the pinnacle of the sport that they want to achieve
Right.
and that they will achieve, and that's perfectly fine because that's in line with their goals. But for other athletes, this competition is a stepping stone to higher levels of competition, even though there's not many higher levels of competition than this competition this weekend.
I absolutely agree, man. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these individuals, their aspirations are just to do good in a local show or just even show up. You know, we have some folks here that want to get a Nationals invite. We have some folks here that want to get an Arnold invite if they win their division here. That said, either way, they're going to push it to whatever limits that they want to push it to and ideally achieve their goals.
Absolutely. So we have a little bit of an adjustment right here. It looks like we are moving the bar up in lane 2. In our next heat, it looks like we're going to have Alicia Oden coming up. She's an extremely explosive athlete. It's going to be exciting and a pleasure to watch her completely torch this event. What do you think, Alec?
I mean, like we mentioned before, I believe she was a D1 or D2 track athlete. You know, the explosivity in Alicia is really unparalleled for many individuals within her class, regardless of the amateur or pro section. You know,
and first contest back after becoming a mother, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's been out for a year, or over a year actually. About maybe 2 years, I think she was out. She became a mother.
Just a casual 2 years.
Casual 2 years, and here she is in first place by a heavy margin going into day 2 in this competition. You know, in any other era, you know, with the changing of classes and whom get pro cards and who don't, Alicia, for all intents and purposes, is a pro. You know, she's a national champion. She won the 160-pound weight division, the 73-kilo weight division at the 2019 Nationals. You know, she's an incredible athlete.
Yeah, I know that she's done well at the Arnold as well.
Yeah, really, as an undersized 82-kilo or 180-pound woman. You know, I know Alicia's placed I want to say top 4 at Nationals amongst the 82s. I believe at the Arnold she's placed at least top 6 as a 73 and the 82. So she's a threat just about anywhere she goes.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely a world-class athlete that you're about to have the pleasure of witnessing in lane 1. Looks like we're getting ready. And here we go.
Here we go. Let's see lane 1, see how she responds to the Rainier. And an easy clear.
Well over the bar. Well over the bar. Didn't even need a practice swing. Just grab and go.
Yeah, fantastic 2-motion bag there on the carry. Getting into the heavier throw bag now. See how she responds.
Yep. Controlled run back. A little side swing.
Easy make there.
Well over the bar again.
Bit of a sideways pick on that sandbag, but it didn't stop her. Here she is carrying fast.
It looks like it's going to be a really fast time for Alicia Oden.
I think we confidently say by far the fastest time thus far in the amateur 82-kilo division.
Absolutely. All right, so we have some other athletes in 2, 3, and 4.
Lane 2 just missing that throw.
It looks like lane 3 is on their second sandbag for height.
And you can see what Zach was referencing earlier, guys, when he said sometimes if you release a little early, it throws right in front of yourself. If you release a little late, it goes directly behind you. And at a certain point, you'll really only have so many throws in you in an event like this.
Absolutely. You're going to burn up your entire posterior chain, and you only have so much of that explosive power to call upon in a short time frame like this 60-second event.
Yeah. For all you, anatomy and physiology dorks out there, your ATP is going to be expelled real quick after that first throw, assuming you missed. You don't have many explosive throws in you on an event like this, or in general.
Absolutely. And a huge shout out to our loaders. Look, so we got a ton of people out here just bearing the elements and completely soaked, but they're going to be moving around equipment all day. And we just want to give them a huge shout out.
Yeah,
so
we really appreciate our volunteers so much. And that's exactly what they are volunteering their time to do this. You know, those shirts are not that, they did not start at that shade of red earlier today. They were just completely wet. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, it really is very, frankly, just heartwarming that they're working as hard as they are, especially in this environment right now. And not a single complaint. You know.
It is funny that you mentioned that because it is definitely those shirts that the volunteers are wearing are not they're considerably darker. They did not start out that shade, as you mentioned.
We got Bobby Leslie in lane number 2 here. He's one of the 80 kilo men that are doing quite well.
Excellent. This should be a very fun heat.
And Spencer in lane 3 here, another fantastic bag thrower. So if you're those watching, I'd really check out lane 2 and 3 here. We should have a pretty good performance.
All right. It looks like we have Maria in lane 1.
All right.
Okay.
Spencer clears the bag easy. Lane 3.
Extremely explosive.
Bobby Leslie just a little out in front.
Yep. So we had 3 athletes clear it on their first throw. Lane 1, Maria has already loaded the first sandbag in the back of the truck. Cleared the second bag. This is a very aggressive run for Maria.
30 seconds left.
Wow, Spencer came in strong. So this is one of those things that is one of the nuances of this event. When you load the sandbag, it's important that you stop touching the sandbag. Alec, can you tell us why that is?
Exactly. So really, getting your hands off of that bag the moment that you load it onto the truck signifies to the judges that the event is over. You are clear. The bag is being supported by the truck and not the athlete. So ultimately speaking, it signifies your time is complete. So you want to get your hands off that bag as fast as you can. Unfortunately, there in lane number 2, Bobby could not get that first bag over. It really kind of goes to show just how much heavier these bags have become due to the water.
Yeah, and that he is an incredibly explosive athlete as well. So
yeah, this is an event that, in theory, you should have done really well in. But, listen, things change. And it's time for you to, in that instance as an athlete, clear your mind, move on, and know that you have 2 more events to make up some points.
Yep. Yeah, that's only 1 out of 6 events. And in this type of circumstance, you just have to put that behind you. You got to rally, and you have to move forward. That's your only option because that's the only direction you can go.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's something I've told my athletes in competition. I'm sure you even heard this yourself in all years competing, is that, listen, once an event's over, it's over. There's no do-overs. Doesn't matter. Honestly, I tell my athletes, I don't care if you did good. I don't care if you did bad. Once it's over, it needs to be over mentally and physically.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the next event is going to allow you to focus on what's important and your preparation for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I definitely, depending on the athlete, I might give them a couple minutes to grieve that, but I'm sure that you would as well. But yeah, it is very important that you cannot hold on to that because the only purpose that it serves is to hold you back from your next performance.
You got to have a goldfish memory. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that.
All right, so we have our last of our 80 kilo men in lane 2 here. It's Vince here in lane 2. Now, Vince going into day 2 is in the lead by 1 point. So if Vince can get 1 bag over, he won the event essentially.
All right, in lane 3, it looks like we have Joey Stimke.
Judges ready. Set. Let's go.
All right.
Let's see how we all do here. Dungeon RX athlete in lane 1.
All right, lane 1 has cleared their first sandbag. And nice quick pick on the sandbag.
So lane 2, he's opting to be complete. He threw the bag over. He won that event out of all the 80 kilo men by just getting the 1 bag over.
Excellent. So that's a fantastic observation. So he threw 1 sandbag over and walked off. How does that work?
Honestly, for him, his other 2 competitors zeroed the event, meaning they didn't accomplish a single throw over the bar. So for him, it's about energy conservation. He's going to throw that bag over just 1 time, accumulate the point, which is now a total win, and walk off and save all the energy for the deadlifts. Odds are his competitors were throwing that bag a number of times, so they'll be a little bit more exhausted than he is.
So that is a strategic move then.
Absolutely. It's a great play. He's got himself a solid point, another point in the lead. So now he's 2 points in advance. So now basically, if he just doesn't lose the next 2 events, he got himself a victory today.
Absolutely, yeah. And so since he's the only one to complete it, does that mean he just gets 1 point, or
I believe in this instance he'll probably get 2. I believe he'll get a 2 point lead in this instance.
Okay.
I believe that's correct. What do you think, Zach? Is that right?
So how many athletes are in the field?
A total of 3 for the 80 kilo men.
And he was the only one to throw it over?
Yes, sir.
So I think that he'd be getting. He's definitely getting more than 1 point.
Yeah, getting more than 1. Oh, right here. Yep. So he got 3 points for that.
Yeah.
3 total points. So now he's in the lead by a considerable margin now.
Yeah. So he got 3 points, where his other 2 competitors got 0 points for incompletion of any part of the event. Yeah, so that is a sizable gap in a field of 3 people. That is an entire event to be 3 points ahead, and it looks like in the total he is in fact 4 points ahead. So he's really going to need to focus on holding on, and those other 2 competitors are going to need to focus on chasing him down.
Yeah. And that's honestly, what's really fun about strongman contests and things in general is a lot of strategy to be had, especially, and the
So
strategy
much.
changes when you have a group of individuals or a weight class, in this case, with not a lot of people. You're actually, in some instances, better off with a lot more for a bit of a point spread.
Absolutely. I think that there's a sweet spot around 10 competitors. Typically, the way the scoring of strongman works is we get a reverse placement scoring. So that is to say if there are 10 competitors and someone takes first place, then you get 10 points.
Yes.
Second place takes 9, third place takes 8 points, and so on and so forth. If you zero an event, you get 0 points.
So the zero event's a huge dent in your day.
Yeah, because ultimately to zero an event, it means that you are losing a high number of placings. But that sweet spot for a field is typically 10 people deep. If it's 3 people, then it can make it really difficult to put people between you and your competition. And if it's 50 or more people, then a single slip, a single, say somebody misthrows this first sandbag and wastes 5 seconds, that can cost you 20 placings.
Massive placement. It's actually what happened to Lucas Hatton, one of the promoters here today at Nationals last year.
Yeah.
Lucas had one bad event, lost a total of 30 points.
Yep.
Kicked him off the podium.
So those larger contests like the national level contests where there's a lot of different people competing all in the same events, you have to have extreme consistency to do well. And those people that win those type of events are extremely consistent athletes.
Yeah. Well, it looks like, fortunately for these athletes, you know what? I'm not going to say a dang thing. I'm glad we're still out here. I was going to reference the weather, but I'm not going to say anything in hopes that things just are consistently better.
Yeah. So the athletes are still dealing with a wet terrain, but it does look like the conditions, I'm going to say, are
different.
Yes.
They're different.
Yes. The atmospheric river has been diverted away from the competition field.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
I like that. All right, so it looks like we're having another weight change potentially. Although, no, actually, I believe we are done now with our amateur division here in the back of our event. It's worth mentioning again, once again, that this event is brought to you by Cerberus Strength. We really want to appreciate and say thanks to Cerberus for providing these sandbags, providing money towards the prize pool, and frankly, just being a really strong force of positivity and change within the sport of strong man and strong woman, and providing sponsorships all around. It looks like we do have some athletes left, so that's fun to see, but big shout out to Cerberus Strength.
Excellent. So it looks like we're getting ready for our next heat. Lanes 3 and 4 have some athletes in them. I believe that is Nolan in lane 3, and then lane 4 is...
Let's find out right here. Lane 4. That should be Charles Trinidad in lane 4.
Excellent. So it looks like Nolan has tossed the sandbag over. The first sandbag is over, and the first loaded sandbag is on the truck. He's back to the second sandbag for the toss. And in lane 4, we have some... It looks like he missed the sandbag on that one. These athletes are starting to get a grip on the terrain.
Oh, so close
that
there
was
for Nolan.
Incredibly close.
It was so dang close. I believe that's actually Nolan Schultz and James Moore.
Wow, to throw and hit the crossbar in that manner 2 times in a row. That will burn you up quite swiftly.
Let's see if Nolan could do this here. Now he's losing gas, unfortunately. However, that was a really great attempt by Nolan on those first couple of throws. They're so close. Nolan is still doing quite well in the overall in terms of points.
James Moore, you're the last competitor, but Lindsay can't find you back there.
Pardon me, that was Mr. Trinidad there. Mr. James Moore should be our last remaining athlete in lane 4. However, we might not have that gentleman here. He might be in the path, or he might not know that he's up. That has happened before.
That does happen.
It does happen.
It does happen in competition.
Shout out to Jasper and his shoes at Nationals.
Yep. All right. So while they're offloading this, the people at home might be wondering, how do I get into strongman?
Oh, that's a good question.
And I think that there's a couple routes. Could you give them one or two examples?
We touched up on this a little bit yesterday, but ultimately what I would say, the number one thing, if you want to get into the sport of strongman, I would say first things first, just read a little bit. Just go online,
Absolutely.
do a little bit of reading, kind of understand what it is. I mean, ultimately speaking, it's just a multifaceted sport that has different modalities of moving odd objects. That's kind of strongman in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
And then beyond that, you look up your local gyms. A good resource for that would be startingstrongman.com. There's a bit of a gym finder on there that you mentioned, owned by a gentleman named Cale Beck, fantastic strongman coach.
One of the OGs as well.
Yeah, very much so. A real perennial force within the sport. And then once you find a gym that even provides, even let's say it's just equipment, I would go in, talk to the local athletes, talk to the local coaches, and just feel what the community is like first. If it seems like really positive, welcoming, everyone's having a good time, odds are it's probably a pretty good community to come train with. And I would encourage you to then from there, just do whatever they're doing. Don't have a fixed notion or an idea of what the sport is, or be focused on one thing too particularly outside of not getting hurt, and just have fun. Like, just let it be fun for a long time, honestly, is what I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those goals do vary from athlete to athlete, from person to person. But ultimately, you want to have things in your life that increase your quality of life and that increase the enjoyment in your life.
You don't need added pressure, especially if you're something brand new. Like James' example. James is going right here in lane number 4, and it looks like James honestly, this whole competition looks like he's having a good time.
Absolutely.
This is probably an event that he doesn't like in particular, but he's out here, he's trying, and at no point has James really done anything other than just worked hard this whole competition thus far.
Absolutely. And he's also such a chill guy. I've seen him in the gym a fair amount, and he has a very relaxed demeanor, and he's out here having fun, giving it his best shot.
Smiles, walks it off.
Yeah, gives it a smile, gives it a nod, says, okay, maybe not today, but that's all right. We live to fight another day.
Yeah, and that's honestly what I would say is really the most important thing in relation to getting involved. Just find a really positive community of people that are having fun. If you go into the gym, and again, if you happen to walk into a gym and maybe there's some world champions and they're really focused and serious, don't judge it necessarily based off that. But if you walk into a gym and people are clearly having a great time, I would stick around there.
Absolutely.
As long as you're not getting hurt, keep going.
Yeah. As long as you're not getting hurt, as long as other people aren't getting hurt. I mean, injuries do happen in the sport, but it should be said that if not a lot of the individuals are getting hurt, it's probably a relatively safe.
Yeah, it's probably a good training system
environment.
going on. People aren't being ridiculous on it, frankly, is what I would describe it as. But that would be the number one way to kind of get into strongman. Because that first, listen, there's a multitude of events. There's all different types of things within the sport. You're not going to be good right away. Odds are you won't be.
Yeah,
there's so many different things
people
to learn. So that being said, just enjoy it. So again, we're going to shout out to Cerberus just one last time for sponsoring this event before we close out our broadcast here. Thank you again, guys, for joining us today, me and Mr. McCarley, and we'll be back soon.
All right. Sounds great. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you. All right, guys, it's Zach McCarley back with you for a brief announcement. We have officially gotten the 5-minute call from the head MC, Grant Higa, one of the original gangsters of strength sports in the Pacific Northwest. So we are just checking back in with you very briefly. Again, that's a 5-minute warning, and we will be resuming our broadcast at that time.
Be sure to come back, guys.
All right, we'll see you soon. All right, guys, we have our first heat up right now. This is the car deadlift. So this is going to be an event that is scored on a repetition basis. The athletes are going to have a set amount of time, which in this circumstance is going to be 60 seconds, in which to be able to deadlift the car as many times as possible. Alec, can you tell us a little bit about what muscles is going to be working or are really, really utilizing?
Yeah, so what's interesting about the car deadlift versus a standard straight bar deadlift, for example, is that in all intents and purposes, it really is a squat, essentially. You're really squatting the deadlift versus the traditional deadlift, where it's a lot more posterior chain involved. So in this case, it's actually going to be predominantly your quads, your upper back, your core. All the muscles associated with the top portion of a squat, I would say, are going to be fatigued the most.
Excellent. And with the exception of the fact that they have to hold on to it, right? So
Right.
those the posterior chain is going to be burning, the quads are going to be on
Yeah, that
fire,
upper
the
back.
traps.
Yeah, right. That upper back's gonna be lit up. The lats a little bit in relation to holding it. Fortunately, these athletes get to strap in on this apparatus, so the rain in theory should not affect them too much. But even so, it's a car. It's very heavy.
Yeah. It's it's just a car.
Yeah, it's a whole ass car. That being said, it behooves us to mention our sponsor for the deadlift event, and that it's actually Buren Chevrolet, where we are currently located. This car leadership has really helped us out in providing many different vehicles for these athletes to pull on. So we really want a big shout out to Buren Chevrolet for helping us out today and providing with great materials to use in the actual competition and the resources used. So thanks again, Buren Chevrolet. Now we have our next round of athletes coming on up. Now, we have in lane number 2 here, if you guys pay attention, we actually have Tasha Wolf. Tasha Wolf, at one point, had the American deadlift record for the 64-kilo women's class. So I'd imagine that Tasha is going to do really well in this event. The judges are letting the ladies know that they can't strap in prior to the start of the event. So it's going to be very exciting to see what Tasha could do here in lane number 2, being a prior deadlift American record holder.
All right, so we have our athletes strapping in right now. The whistle's already gone, so they're attempting to get as many repetitions as possible. Do we have a number to beat for this weight class?
Absolutely. So right now we should have the women's lightweight division. As of now, let's take a look here. So the repetitions haven't been uploaded quite yet, but we'll get them shortly. In the meantime, let's check out Tasha Wolf here, who is easily, I'd say, approaching the reps in the teens.
All right, so in this event, it's not just that they can deadlift away as many repetitions as possible. They're actually waiting for the calls of the judge. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. They're having to do up and down calls. So really what that means is that once they stand the apparatus up, the judge will give them a down call. From that point, they're going to lower the weight, and then they have to wait to be told to rise the bar. Now, the reason why we're doing that in this case is because we don't want athletes touching and going or slamming the apparatus into the ground.
Yeah, and that'll make it so they have to actually lift the weight under control.
Exactly.
Right? They're not going to be able to bounce the weight around at all.
So as of right now, the reps to beat within the women's 64-kilo class was 14 repetitions. So let's see what Tasha Whalen did here.
That's an incredible amount of repetitions.
That's unbelievable.
That is, that's cardio. That's into
straight
cardio.
Straight cardio, dog. Remember how we were talking about CrossFit yesterday and how it really isn't that? Well, today might be a little bit of that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
A little bit. That's okay. Reps are okay. So
yeah, and it did look like the athletes were really in pretty good shape after that event. They were able to give each other a hug, say good job. They weren't collapsing down.
So in that last heat, Tasha actually got 23 reps. So putting herself in the lead. BJ Sagan got 21 reps. So now she took second place. In our last heat here, we have Vina Nubar and Jessica Wong Morki. Forgive my pronunciation.
Wow, that is aggressive. So Jessica immediately strapped in and pulled, didn't even think about it. And it looks like they're off and moving.
I mean, it looks like lane 2 might be in contention for first place if she keeps this pace.
Wow. Okay, Jessica's really moving on the left of the screen. She's waiting for that down call and just dropping it and straight back up.
We have a barn burner right now, guys. This is actually amazing. We might see a first place finish in this.
We're gonna see over 20 repetitions is my prediction. She's really moving this quickly, and if you have 1 minute and you're getting up and down calls, really anything over 20 is amazing.
Unbelievable.
And in the 23 range is about if you're getting quick calls, that's literally doing repetitions the entire minute, no rest, no stopping. You know, it does take time to register that down command and that up command.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, guys, prior to this heat, first place was 23 reps, second place was 21 reps. So we're going to find out in just a moment here where these lightweight women finished off. That was unbelievable out of Vina and Jessica.
That was, oh yeah, you can see that she's quite
she's done.
taxed.
She's done.
She's quite taxed from that. And this is one of those events where you can really push your body extremely far within that 60-second time frame, and you can potentially pay for that for the next several minutes or even the rest of the day.
Yeah, I would say because it really is inherently more of a squat than a standard deadlift motion, you can get a bit ignorant in the amount of reps that you could do. Like you could really wash your body, potentially more than you even need to at times with an event like this, because you are in a pretty fixed, moderately safe position.
Absolutely.
So let's see here. In our last heat, oh my goodness, Jessica with 26 repetitions, Vina with 20. So Tasha Whaling coming in second with 23. Jessica coming in first with 26. And in third place to round us off with 21 reps, BJ Sagan. Wow. 26 reps.
That's a lot of repetitions. Yeah. So 26 reps. Yeah. That is, well, I mean, everybody at home just saw that is literally up, down, up, down, up, down as swiftly as possible, hitting those commands perfectly. And I'm not sure, but she may have even gotten a repetition taken off at the very beginning.
She might have gotten that last
She
one,
might have. There was actually a stutter. If you go back and watch the video, there's actually a small stutter when she deadlifted the weight up and she started to come down. She looked at the rep and kind of struggled and then stopped halfway down, came back up with the weight in hand.
Well, she went and beat, and she also happened to beat a former American record holder in the deadlift. That's unbelievable.
Well, in these high repetition events, it is a skill to be able to read the judge, to be able to swiftly move through those repetitions and cycle them as quickly as possible.
In our next heat here in the women's 82 kilo division, we should have Lena Meredith and Annalise Coleman. So lane 1 should be Miss Meredith, and lane 2 should be Annalise. Oh, and you could see that this just got significantly heavier for the 82 class.
Yeah, and so it looks like it's the same vehicles. Can you tell us, and this is it's a different weight class, but it's clearly heavier.
Right.
Can you tell us about how they will adjust that weight?
Right. So in this case, they're actually manipulating the handles and the distance in relation to the vehicle. So for those watching, the further out the handles are from the vehicle, the easier the load is to lift. The closer you get to the vehicle, the much harder it is because you're getting a lot more of the actual weight of the vehicle in hands.
Oh, excellent. So this, sorry, I can't recall her name, but Meredith is really the spirit of this morning's competition. She goes hard and she doesn't know how to do it any other way.
She's literally running off. She's literally running off the platform.
Fantastic performance.
I told Meredith earlier today she has the best hair and smile of the competition so far,
and the best dance moves.
She's
getting it. I love her energy today and yesterday. She's definitely been a bright spot.
Yeah, it's again, we mentioned earlier, what to do if you're getting into strongman, strongwoman, and do that. Just have fun.
Yeah,
and
she is 10 out of 10 killing that.
Yes. So now in lane number 1, we have Christina, and in lane number 2, we have Alicia Odin.
All right. It should be a pretty exciting heat right here.
I
think that
Alicia's nasty with the trap bar, man, and she's gonna murder this.
She's
nasty.
Over 20. Absolutely. The question is,
you want
20. How much? Over under 26. You call
24 reps.
Oh, okay. I'll take 25.
24.
24? I'm saying 25.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Little Price is Right action here.
Yeah. I was going to give you an over-under on 26, though, if you want under over.
I want
specific. Okay, fine. I'll go 25.
Let's see here.
I'm going 25, but I feel like 27 is possible.
I think. Here we go. She's already at 2.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that pace.
This is robotic. Christina here, changing up her grip slightly. Putting her feet in the right position to try to really get that lean back and stand, like more of a squat motion.
She's going to get 28 or 29 reps.
Oh, my goodness. I think you might be right. So for those watching lane number 1, what Christina's doing is moving her feet around just slightly to really get more of a squat motion to make it more of an attainable, that rep. It is still, again, don't let Alicia in lane 2 fool you. It's a literal vehicle. This is very heavy.
Yes. And excellent. So Alicia almost locked out, Christina almost locked out. One repetition was very close. Got the vehicle off of the ground, got it past her knees, and just could not quite reach that lockout position. It does look like her feet might be positioned
and she
a little
gets
too
a
far
rep.
back.
She got a rep just before
Excellent.
the buzzer. Amazing job by Christina to get that 1 rep. Way to stay in it. That was great work from her. And Alicia was just a metronome of proficiency over here.
Flawless. Yeah, for Alicia's performance, that was what you would call a flawless pacing, a flawless performance.
All you video game nerds, flawless victory.
Flawless victory. She definitely fatality'd that event.
Well, exactly. We'll find out in just a few moments exactly how many she got, but honestly, I think you were right to call 25 or more. That was a bit ridiculous.
I'm excited to see upper 20s. Like I really think it might have been 28 or 29.
Yeah, I honestly think you're right, bud.
And that might be the highest number of card deadlifts I've ever seen in any competition. Because
I believe that.
About 27, 28 is the most I know I've seen. 29, I don't think I've ever seen that many.
That's wow. So here in our last heat of the middleweight women, in lane 2, we have Maria, and in lane 1, Nicole.
Excellent. So the athletes have to wait until the whistle to actually strap in properly. And so that's why our athletes are not strapped in when they're beginning the event. That's one of the smaller rules of this event. And wow, Maria's coming out extremely swiftly. If she can maintain that pace, she is going to be a real threat for this event.
Maria is killing this. This is really interesting now. Now, Zach, these ladies are happen to be using figure 8 straps. What's the difference between figure 8 straps and standard straps, or using none at all?
That's a great question. So in this type of event, the rules could dictate that they are not allowed to use straps, but they are allowed to use straps here. That is a grip aid. It's making it so the weight is not going to slip out of the hands. It's going to be able to be strapped to the wrist, and it takes grip out of the equation. Now, the figure 8 straps versus the normal straps, the figure 8 straps are stitched together, double thick in a figure 8 that you can slip your hands through and slip the cross of the 8 over the handle of whatever you're lifting. And that's going to literally strap the weight to your hand. You're not going to have to rotate any kind of thing or any kind of strap around the bar to strap in. It fixes you to the implement that you're lifting, which in this circumstance is the car. And in this circumstance, it is beneficial. In some circumstances, you can be strapped to a bar that can potentially pull you forward and put you in dangerous positions. Some competitions have actually banned the use of figure 8.
The Shaw Classic being one of the main ones, and the Arnold.
Absolutely, yeah. And so in that circumstance, they have deemed that piece of equipment to be dangerous to the athlete's health because it does fix them to the bar.
Sure, and it makes sense. Ultimately speaking, promoters have every right to choose what tools and aids are permitted within reason. And in this case, we are allowing athletes to use the figure 8s. To touch back on the performance that just occurred, we had Nicole with 14 reps, Maria with 26 repetitions, and Alicia with 29.
29, didn't I?
29 reps. You called it, man. You called it. That's crazy. That is the most amount of reps I've ever seen in a
That
show.
is officially
the
most I have ever seen as well.
That's so wild.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple contests.
Just a few. He's competed in a few. I've coached a few.
Yeah, so there's a first for us.
Yeah, that's wild. All right. I mean, look at Alicia back there stumbling. Her legs must feel like jello right now.
Oh, my goodness.
That was an amazing performance. And our final, not our final heat, but our final weight class in the women's divisions, we have the open class ladies coming up next. Our first competitor, and potentially only competitor of this heat in particular due to an odd amount of athletes, should be Jennifer Whedon in lane 1 here.
Okay.
That was an amazing.
sorry.
I was just to finish off with that 82 class. In first place in the deadlift was Alicia. Second place in the deadlift was Maria with 26. And in third place in the deadlift, we have Nicole with 14. So great performance out of those athletes. And now we have our open class amateur women.
Okay, stand by myself. I'm not there for this. All right, take a position.
All right.
Set.
Again, we have Jennifer Whedon here in lane 1. Hopefully get some good points on the board here and a great first pull.
Fantastic.
And Zach, something that people might not understand, Miss Whedon here, after that first deadlift, she scooted her feet back a little bit. Why do you think she did that?
So with this kind of event, foot position is actually quite important. We saw earlier with at least one of the athletes, someone had their feet a little too far back, and they got to the lockout position, and their knees actually started to buckle forward. And that's because the weight was a little too far behind them. And what they were having to do was compensate by bringing the hips too far forward, which placed too much strain on the quads and buckled the knees forward. Now, what you really want is a position where you can apply force. You can see that Jennifer here is leaning back and deadlifting. That is an ideal position.
So you're essentially saying the athlete really wants to make sure their feet are underneath them, lean back into the pull, and not only utilize their quads to squat it up, but a lot of their posterior chain as well to support it.
Absolutely, yeah. And so what can happen is sometimes athletes can feel that they're slightly off. They're not in that perfect groove, and so they'll make an adjustment on the fly. And I think that that's what we saw with this experienced athlete here. Jennifer's been around the strongman scene for a while, and I've seen her car deadlift quite a bit, actually. So making that adjustment, I know that it was the right adjustment for her and for her body, because I know that she knows herself quite well.
Right, yeah, and that experience is kind of on display here. So next on up, and Jennifer there, once the scores update, we'll be able to say accurately what her repetitions were, but that was a fantastic performance out of her. Oh, pardon us. That was not. That was not Ms. Whedon. That was actually a Stephanie. Sorry, Stephanie. Stephanie with 8 repetitions, though. Way to go.
I was because as soon as I was watching, I was like, "That's not her."
That's not her. It was Stephanie. Sorry.
That's okay.
But our next 2 athletes here, though, is Tara and Liana. Lane 1 should be Tara, and in lane 2 should be Liana.
Excellent. All right, so now we have 2 athletes with different kinds of straps.
Right. So what are the benefits of the longer style straps?
The longer style straps. So you're going to see our athlete on the right has the longer style straps. Athlete on the left has the figure 8s. You're going to see how the figure 8s work on the left, and the longer straps on the right are going to be wrapped around the bar once or several times. Once for swiftly, but if you wrap it a couple times, typically it's not coming out. And but with those figure 8s, those are a more recent, in the last couple of years kind of thing. Definitely within the last decade, and it's a unique type of strap. It's not going to help. It would actually hinder you on some kinds of movements. A good example being an axle. It would make it even harder to lift because the diameter of the handle is larger. But in this circumstance, the diameter of the handle is appropriate, and so we have a bar that can be lifted with it.
Right. And so we have our athlete in lane number 1, still getting in some quality reps here, getting in that good position that you mentioned, utilizing that new style of strap that's relatively new. Unfortunately, our athlete in lane number 2, she's going to decide to bow out now at the current time here. Great effort out of her, but she can choose to end their event for the day for her. Hopefully she's okay here. Ultimately speaking, these things sort of happen at times when you're performing at a high level show like this, and you're really putting some strain on the body. Sometimes, accidents or injuries can occur, but ultimately speaking, Liana should be perfectly okay.
Absolutely. So again, we do have to reiterate that, these conditions are not quite optimal. Our athletes are dealing with a little bit of wet conditions in the Pacific Northwest today. And a lot of different things can happen in an event like this. Yep. We can have athletes' bodies just deciding to kind of cramp up. Right. We can have athletes' bodies deciding that, that tendon doesn't really want to be on the bone anymore, or the muscle doesn't want to stay right where it's at. But a lot of times the athletes can feel something kind of going wrong, and they'll make the right call and kind of call it. And so many times in competition, athletes will call it before something catastrophic occurs.
Yeah, and it looks like, Liana in this case, she had a bit of a twinge in maybe her bicep, interestingly enough, and she's choosing to stop the event. They're checking in on her right now. We're getting the events cleared from water right now as well. Some of the extra, from the rain on the platform there. So take a quick brief break, but ultimately speaking, You know, I saw she had a bit of a smile on her face, so I think she's okay.
Yeah.
And you know, it is something that hopefully soon she'll be able to recover from soon. I know you've had some bicep injuries in the past that you've recovered from, at least.
Yeah. So I've had a proximal bicep tear on here. You
I
can
was just
see
showing the
that there's
guns. Showing the guns.
this.
Oh, there it is.
little guy
Oh,
right
okay,
here.
no big deal.
No, if I reach back right here, you can see that there's a
Right.
proximal bicep tear, and then a distal bicep tear on this one.
All right.
So that's what those scars are right there. Yeah, you know, injuries occur in this sport, and it is if you are at a high level competition, it is just part of the sport,
Right.
unfortunately. But that's part of any sport. If you look at the NFL, you
Yep.
know, athletes are dealing with CTE after. Athletes are dealing with all kinds of physical injuries. We see
Similar injuries as well, ACL tears, breaks,
Yep.
MCL issues.
which are, you know, they're more of an issue for female athletes, it seems, in the sport
Yep.
than male athletes. But we do see, you know, patellar issues with a lot of the male athletes. Not a lot, enough of the male athletes to at least mention it.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's sport, and sport does come with some consequences. But that being said, you know, we see a lot of recoveries. People always come back stronger, ideally. So looks like Leanna's going to be okay. And our next heat here, we should have a Jennifer. Now it should be Jennifer Whedon and Shauna. So Jennifer should be in lane 1, and lane 2 should be Shauna.
We just gave Jennifer some extra love.
You get a whole lot of love
That's
today,
what it
Jennifer.
is.
You're cool.
That's all it is.
So here we are, ladies are getting strapped in, finding their positions. You can see now in lane 2, she's adjusting her feet like we mentioned. Lane 1 with a great first rep.
Excellent. She's off and running.
Yeah,
Metaphorically.
Yeah, yeah. She looks comfortable. She looks really comfortable right now. Her positions are pretty good. Really getting after it. You can see in lane 2, we're still finding our feet. We're still finding our focal point terms. And she gets a rep in lane 2. She found that position she needed to be in.
Fantastic.
And now she's getting more.
Yeah, it looks like both athletes have established a good rhythm for them. And it looks like the athlete in the lane to the left, we'll say,
Yep, Jennifer in lane 1.
lane 1 is very effectively and consistently getting those repetitions. I'm not sure if she got that last down call. She's starting to struggle to reach that lockout position at the very top.
She is getting these calls. She's a very generous judge today.
Okie doke.
But at the end of the day, if you are, and he's making her weight in there, you know, ultimately speaking, you always do what the judge says if you are an athlete. Always.
Absolutely.
If the judge gives you the call, you take it.
Yeah, and so that is the judge's responsibility. We do have very knowledgeable judges that are going to keep our athletes safe, but are also going to demand high levels of performance from the athletes in order to get a down call or a complete repetition call.
What I really liked about that heat in particular, you could tell in lane number 2, Shauna was having some difficulty finding that perfect balance within her feet, within where she wanted to apply pressure. She missed actually the first couple of attempts, and she just stuck with it. She took up a good solid 20 seconds and then was able to start cranking out reps. You know, I really like that effort, that spirit of, like, you know, she wasn't going to quit just because it was hard. She found a way to make it happen, and she did. She got some quality reps.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that it is very important to note that you need to make sure you're in the right position before you just pull.
Right.
Because a single incorrect effort in this kind of event can lead to an injury.
Right. Exactly.
You know, you really do have kind of a forced range of motion, a forced groove, we'll say. And if you're outside of that groove and that groove does not align with your body's movement, that groove of the car deadlift is going to win.
Absolutely. You're not going to beat a car.
Yeah, no, you will not. And so you have to adjust your body and your movement to that of the implement.
Absolutely. And then we have here Nicole in lane number 1 and Coy in lane number 2. Nicole is flying right now with these weights.
Wow. And that, you know, this is the same athlete that we saw throw that sandbag directly over the bar in the last event immediately, very explosively. So an incredibly strong athlete.
Yeah, Nicole is making this child's play. That's fantastic.
Wow. She is absolutely putting on a clinic here. And truthfully, from a technical standpoint, it looks like her feet are a little bit further back than I would like to see them, which is making it even harder, which makes this even more impressive.
Yeah, she really could be a few inches forward, get a little bit more quads out of it, but it seemingly doesn't matter. She is bullying this weight.
Just gonna lift it anyway. Could not care less.
That's amazing. She honestly, she almost did not stop. I can't wait to see what her eventual scores were there. That's a fantastic work out of Nicole. We're getting some slow updates as of now for the scores. As of right now, in the women's open division on the amateur side, we have 17 reps with Jennifer Whedon in first. That might change after we get some repetitions to see what Nicole did.
All right.
So as of right now, it looks like we are done with our women, with the division, the female divisions on the amateur side. I would like to take this moment to mention that Burr & Chevrolet is the sponsor for this event. As you can tell, these awesome vehicles that they provided us with to pick up and down and give us a location to have this fantastic meet on this what is now a beautiful day, it looks like. So we really appreciate our sponsor, Burr & Chevrolet. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Thank you guys very much. If you get the opportunity to come on down, actually, if you're watching this right now, buy a car. Just do it. Just do it. Don't even question it. No, they've been fantastic to us, providing us this space to lift and some vehicles to lift with. These are actually vehicles that are available on the lot right now. So we're very grateful for their sponsorship.
Absolutely. So it looks like actually this is our last open division woman for the amateur side. It was Angelica that got that ridiculous amount of reps, it looks like, in 19. So we got 19 reps in that last heat. And now we have Coy in lane number 1, and we should have our 80-kilo man in lane number 2 here in David.
19 repetitions from that previous heat. That's incredibly impressive, especially considering that the next closest athlete had 17. So it's close, but then the third place athlete,
8 repetitions. Huge drop off.
Yeah, a huge drop off. So we'll see what Coy can do in trying to catch up with that number, those numbers that were put forth.
Now, if you were Coy in this instance, let's say you're Coy, maybe you didn't have the ability to get 18. What would be your mindset going into the event?
A PR is a win. I have to say that, and that's something that I've told my athletes and told close to anybody who will listen in the sport of strongman. A PR is a win. If you go to a contest, you hit a PR, that's a win. Don't even worry about your placing too much. Worry about just getting better, because if you PR'd and you did not win an event, you didn't lose the event.
Right.
You got outclassed, and there's no shame in that.
Right.
But there would be shame in beating yourself down senselessly.
Exactly. So ultimately speaking, sounds like what you're saying is that even for yourself, I may make this guess, regardless of your ability, whether it be the highest of the world's potential or someone brand new, just do your best to beat you.
Absolutely, yeah. And even though this is a competitive sport and athletes are going head to head, if you put your body's best effort forth and you perform the best your body ever has, then you're going in the correct trajectory to reach whatever goal it is that you set for yourself. So don't be upset that you're not quite there yet. Be excited that you're on the correct path to that goal.
I completely agree. It's going to ultimately give you a lot of longevity, but we have our last heat of our 80-kilo men's now. This is very exciting. We have a gentleman in first place in Vince in lane 2, and in second place, Bobby in lane 1. So, for Bobby, in this case, he's really got to come out with a win here if he really wants to make the show happen for him.
Absolutely. So both of these athletes are
Vince
quite talented.
wants to continue that distance. He wants to make more of a distance.
Absolutely. Points. Yeah, and so in this circumstance, wow, Bobby is off.
Bobby is going for it.
And Vince is not taking that sitting down.
No, Vince is well. He's firing him out.
Oh, and it looks like Vince has found his rhythm as well. So both athletes are beginning to move rather swiftly.
This is a fantastic heat for everyone watching. It looks like Bobby might have a little bit extra legs than his competitor in Vince. However, Vince is not stopping. He's very smooth. He's really, he looks like he's paying close attention, more than likely at least chasing down the gentleman that went before him. However, Bobby looks like he's trying to take this full heat.
Both athletes have incredibly intense eye contact with their judge. You can see them looking to the side and looking their judge directly in the eyes, saying, "Give me the down call, give me the up call, give me the down call, give me the up call."
Oh, yeah,
They're looking to rack up as many repetitions as possible.
This is outstanding out of these two gentlemen. These guys are going for it. Bobby Leslie showing up. Wow, absolutely amazing. I think it's I think we can confidently say Bobby might have won that at all the 80s.
I think we can say that, and the intensity of that, the sportsmanship
and
right
that camaraderie. Let's go.
Yeah,
look at the hair on that guy. That's a beautiful man. That's a beautiful man.
I do have to say that was one of the more intense heats that we had seen today.
That was fun. That was really fun.
No, it was
really
very
fun.
exciting. And
yes, I'm very biased. I do coach you guys.
Well, I'm not quite so biased, and I can definitely say that was a very intense heat. And the showmanship put forth by Bobby was pretty incredible.
David, the first 80 kilo man to come out, got 22 reps. That's a lot. So we're gonna see where those gentlemen fell.
So it was a rep fest all around.
It really
in that
was.
Class.
Yeah. It's exciting to see the results of this. I'm really looking forward to reading those results. Next up, we should have the 105 kilo men should be starting. It looks like we're changing out the vehicles to get them ready for this. It looks like we're probably going to go with heavier vehicles. Outstanding performance by Bobby Leslie. That being said, we have our 105 amateur men coming up next. The first gentleman that should be coming up next in that heat, in the first heat, should be Greg Delp and a Brandon Swole. That's a great last name, Brandon.
That's a fantastic.
That's sweet. That's a great name for strongman, bud. Any standout performances for you in the women's lightweight, the women's middleweight, and anyone? It might have to be Alicia kind of taking the day, right?
No, that's the first one that comes to mind. That was quite impressive, and especially I don't know if the camera angle really highlighted her positioning. I don't know how much experience she has in, with that implement, but I do feel very firmly that her feet were further back than they should have been for optimal performance, and she still repped out that implement like it was nothing. And so that kind of strain on the body and that kind of just commanding that weight, even in a non-optimal position, is an incredible strength feat. What would you?
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest, it's one of those things where there was zero flaws. There was zero flaws in her physical ability in her performance. There was zero flaws in her tactical.
She didn't even look tired.
That not only is that an athlete that knows her limits, she knows her limits are far and beyond most individuals. Like, it was just really fun to watch. To reference back to that 80 kilo class, Robert Leslie with 23 repetitions, and in second place was David, the first gentleman to come out. So Vince took last on that event with 20 whole reps. That was an outstanding group of men. It turns out they're all fantastic deadlifters.
Wow. So to reiterate, the three placings in that class repetition wise were 23 reps, 22 reps, and 20 reps.
That's insane. That is really insane.
So it is also a real kick in the gut, I'm sure, for the athlete that took third. He got 20 repetitions on an event and still took third place. So that's quite impressive. And the fact that all three of those athletes lifted 20 or more reps, I think that might come into play later for some of or for our next event.
Yeah, I mean, so if we're still referencing that 80 kilo class, for example, right now, Mr. Leslie, he was at a 4-point deficit going into the event. Now he's only at a 2. So in theory, if he were to win the last event of the day, and the gentleman who's still in first takes third, we're going to have a tie.
We'll have a tie, but then it'll come down to placings, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I do remember the promoter mentioning that they're considering still doing a tiebreaker event.
Ooh,
which would be really exciting.
I believe it's
exciting. Actually, it's potentially, now don't quote me on this. It might, if the rain consists or is consistent, there won't be a tiebreaker. If there isn't rain, they'll do a tiebreaker.
I call for an arm wrestling match.
The athletes,
wouldn't that be great? That would be awesome.
That'd be amazing. Now, the athletes don't know this. I know this because I got the inside scoop, I believe. So anyone listening, don't tell anyone. Actually, I probably shouldn't say it because it's probably friends going to text each other.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll tell Mr. McCarley real quick.
Off screen. Oh,
so just know it's awesome.
I hope there's a tie. I hope that there's a tie. If that is what it is, oh no,
it's going to be brutal if the tiebreaker does come. So let's see what happens, guys. It can happen in many different classes today. We don't really know. Either way, it's going to be a fun show. That being said, we are still in the process of switching out the vehicles. We're going to these much larger Chevrolet vehicles provided by us by Boron Chevrolet. We're switching over to these much larger trucks. Now, I wouldn't be able to tell you the what model because I'm not a car person. Looks like a Silverado.
Yep.
A much larger vehicle.
Yep. So positioning those trucks is actually, it can be kind of tricky in some circumstances, but we got some experienced drivers here, and it looks like we are almost in position for the event.
Yeah, looks like we're just about ready. Want to really make sure it's perfect. Otherwise, athletes, like right now, the white vehicle's a little off center, so they're going to fix that.
We got some great jams going. I don't know if we can hear it on the stream.
We do have some fantastic music going on right now. You know, when was the last time that you actually had to do a car deadlift in a show for you? Now, what vehicle did they use?
Oh,
Or was it like
my
a tank
goodness.
or something ridiculous?
Yeah, it would have had to been probably at the Arnold.
Okay.
And
Arnold Amateur?
yes, the Arnold Amateur, and years ago, in competition,
Right.
you know. But it was cool because right as I came up and started to lift, Arnold literally came by and
Arnold
Schwarzenegger came by and watched our heat, and he was standing not even 20 feet away from me.
That's
watching
amazing.
me deadlift.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was cheering. I was like, yes.
And
I put on quite the performance that day.
I mean, that's not surprising.
You have to.
Now, was that an Arnold that you podiumed?
No. So at the amateur Arnold, I only competed 2 times, and I did not podium either time.
What weight class did you do?
That was unlimited, actually.
So
and
you didn't open 2 times.
Yeah,
Right, so
yeah. As a 105 kilo athlete.
Well, hold on. I'm going to lead in on this.
Yeah.
He's barely a 105 kilo athlete. He's really,
Yeah.
I mean, you're really an everything athlete. You've won 80 kilo class nationals. You've won 90 kilo nationals.
Just 90.
Just 90. All right. So you've won 90 kilo nationals. You also won the 90 kilo world title.
Mhm.
And then you've won nationals as a 105, I believe, as well.
Yes, and as a 265.
And then it's just all right. So
And if you want to get really technical for the real nerdy people, I have 6 national championships, but there's an additional national championship that I did compete in as a pro alongside amateurs that I was uncrowned because I did not qualify for the 265 class.
see.
So I could have had a 7th, but I was
big
not
deal.
qualified for nationals,
Okay.
so I didn't get it. I did count it back. It would have been, but it is not.
That's amazing. Yeah. So again, you have a weight class based athlete, doing damn well at an open show. So that's Zach over here. No big deal.
It's whatever. It's whatever. But today we have a bunch of athletes that are beginning that journey, that exact same journey. And I wonder, being in the Pacific Northwest, this being the hotbed for strongman that it is, I do wonder which ones of these athletes will be kind of the next generation of up and coming national champions, because we will have some of
Absolutely.
them here today.
Yeah, we mentioned that yesterday. Like, there are superstars in this amateur division right now. Honestly, it's kind of hard to call her an up and comer because she's already won the national title. But how can we not bring up Alicia in that case? Like, I honestly think Alicia's an international star to come.
Absolutely.
If she wants, like, if she truly wants it, I know she can do it.
She will go as far as she wants.
Yeah. I would say,
Period.
other athletes that have really stood out to me. Honestly, Nicole with that deadlift in the open division, that was really impressive. It wasn't Nicole, it was Angelica, rather. Angelica really getting 19 reps in that deadlift. That was really impressive. And her throws were impressive. So we have an athlete with like great static strength and dynamic ability. It's a very rare commodity to have those together. So that was really exciting to watch.
And those are 2 of those paramount categories of movement, in this sport. And so
I would say Spencer in the 105s is also
Spencer
someone to look out
has
for.
incredible potential, actually.
Yeah, Spencer could be a freak.
And I do think that if he decides to stay in the 105s, he's going to be dangerous. If he decides to go up in weight,
he really
he's
could
still
go
going to be dangerous.
Really could. And be just as good.
His frame is almost ideal for some heavyweight action.
Yep.
And I think that the way he is built and the natural abilities that he has already are going to lend themselves very well to high level competition wherever he finds himself.
I would agree. I mean, he's larger than very famous and very prominent athletes in the open class already. Athletes like Novikov, for example, he's actually taller and wider than him. So it's not like he has a frame ill-suited for the class. I mean, regardless where he decides to go, it's going to be great. In the most biased sense way possible, I think Bobby Leslie's going to be really good in the 80 kilo class.
He is quite the athlete. He's impressed me. I had not heard of him before this contest, but he's definitely made quite the impression.
And Vince as well. Vince, who is
in
the lead.
Both
Vince
of those
is very
athletes,
tactical.
Yeah, and I really have to say, it seems that entire class is very talented.
Yeah. That David as well putting on a display on the deadlifts, really showing up there. Unfortunately, Bobby and David didn't get any points in the dynamic event, but you can tell those boys are deadlifters. They're strong. It's really fun to see that. So we do have a lot of future stars, coming on up right now in this amateur divisions that I really can't wait to see whom goes to nationals this year, whom goes to the Arnold. Some people might win first, maybe they'll opt for the nationals instead. Would you ever recommend someone to ever do a nationals over an Arnold, or you think if you qualify, you should go?
Sorry, can you ask that question one more time?
for
I want to make
example,
sure I understand it.
Would you ever say that there's a, an athlete, let's say they win a show like this, they get qualified for the amateur side of the Arnold, and they also get the option to go to the Nationals. Would you ever say one show is better than the other, or they should prioritize one over the other?
I really think that it depends on the individual's goals. It really just depends. I know that for me, I always had a higher value on the national level competitions, and as a result, I tended to go to those more frequently. I know that for me, the Arnold was kind of it was a fun experience, and it was an excuse to go to the Arnold Expo, because if you have never been there, it is an incredible experience. I would definitely suggest for those people that are really into iron sports or really sports in general to go there and check it out. It is the largest festival of sport in the world anywhere, and you have dozens of sports all being competed in by people from every country imaginable. So it's quite the place to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It really is a special event. Depending on the class that you're in, it might be something good for just the experience versus necessarily trying to win, depending on your weight class. But as of right now, we have a really good 105 performing right now by himself, unfortunately, and Connor getting out here and repping out deadlifts. What's your point that you're saying? I totally agree. Some shows are just good for the experience. Some shows are just good for actual competition.
Awesome. So yeah, and I definitely think that I do have to say I love the hat that our athlete out there is rocking right now. You can see that it's falling down a little bit. He just doesn't care. He's just going to keep repping that weight out.
Yeah, Connor right now is putting on a fantastic performance. He is murdering this right now. I believe I heard he's right around 15 repetitions. That's fantastic.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. I also happen to know that he is an athlete that trains at a Dungeon Strength RX.
Yes, coached by Lucas Hatton, actually. One of the main promoters of the show today.
All right, a fantastic effort. It looks like he will be slightly exhausted, but doing just fine.
Yeah, that was a really great display of strength there and technique by Connor. So now that we have Connor going on, I'm assuming that happened. I think it was an odd number of individuals that he went by himself. So now, more than likely, we're going to have Nathan, Allen, and Darren coming on out. So Nathan should be in lane 1. Darren should be in lane 2, coming on out here on the car deadlift for the 105 kilo men's division on the amateur side of things. And a fantastic song to lead them in. Let's go.
All right, our athletes are taking the field. Another 2 athletes from Dungeon Strength RX. And so I have to say, in one, we have some amazing shorts right here. I wish you would hike up that shirt so we can see those a little
Rob
better.
Kearney-esque, I would say.
Yeah.
Rob Kearney-esque.
Very, yeah.
Vibrant, colorful.
Yeah, and I love the tie-dye. Anytime there's a tie-dye, that's going to get a little bit of my attention.
That's a McCarley win?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have athletes getting set here. We should have Nathan in lane 1 and Darren in lane 2.
Okay, so Nathan on the right and Darren on the left.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, and so we have these 2 guys that are going head to head. These 2 actually train together quite a bit, and it looks like they really each of them want this more.
You don't want your buddy to beat you. You want to beat your friend.
Oh, absolutely. It looks like they are taking this extremely seriously. Not even taking an opportunity to look at each other. Just keeping the focus on the judge, keeping the focus on give me the down, give me the up.
The technique out of lane 2 is fantastic. Really solid lean back and stand. Great foot positioning.
Absolutely, yeah. It looks like Nathan has taken a small repetition lead, and he is starting to grind those out. It's starting to get extremely fatiguing. I'm sure his legs are just absolutely jelly at this point.
I mean, they for the most part just did not stop. That was incredibly impressive. That being said, so far the lead is 25 reps by Connor. So let's see if that held up.
Yeah, so this would be interesting. And that kind of event where you're doing 25 repetitions, anywhere in the 20s, really, we're going to be seeing extreme amounts of muscle fatigue.
Yeah.
And that is going to come in later for what looks like going to be the third and final event of the day.
Yeah, which will
and
be
of the weekend
and
for
the
these
weekend.
athletes.
Yeah, for the weekend as well, which will be a sandbag to shoulder medley. It's looking like a bit of an event change. Originally supposed to be a stone to shoulder. That being said, due to the weather, it is unsafe to do stone to shoulder in wet conditions. That being said, you know, if it stays dry, well, you never know. We'll see. They might call an audible and bring it back.
All right, so we have our athletes getting sorted out.
We should have in lane number 1 to the left should be Logan, and lane number 2 should be Dylan.
All right.
Assuming that's correct.
So we have our athletes getting set. Our MC Grant Higa is asking if they're ready, and here we go. Set, go.
Okay, let's get it.
All right,
and we're off already.
We got those figure 8 straps being utilized for this event. I do think that those would probably be the best thing to utilize for grip.
I
on
really
this
would.
event.
You don't want to have to think for a second about your hands in relation to this implement, especially after wet conditions like we've had today.
Look at the intensity out of lane 2. Look at the eye contact.
That
being made
man's
with that
in it.
Judge. Nothing else exists in his world right now.
Incredibly strong quads out of him as well. Like his proficiency of locking out his hips and quads simultaneously is really impressive. That should be Logan in lane 2, if our score sheets are correct here.
Excellent,
Pardon me,
yeah.
Dylan, rather. Should be Dylan in lane 2.
All right.
Now, interestingly enough, Zach, we can see here in lane number 1, the gentleman's heels are slightly coming off the ground as he stands up. Would you say his feet are maybe too far back?
So his heels are coming. I can't quite see
At my angle, I can
this
see him here.
angle. But typically, if we have our heels coming back, his weight is a little too far. Or sorry, if his heels are coming up, his weight is a little too far forward on the foot, which means he really should be sliding those feet forward a bit more.
I would like to think
And so it sounds like we have at least one of our athletes in a non-optimal pulling position, but that's all right. That's part of this process of figuring out the sport, figuring out these events, and figuring out this movement in particular.
Now, if you were doing this event, what style of footwear would you opt for? Would you choose for like for example, a weightlifting squat shoe? Would you go barefoot? What do you think you would elicit here?
I like to go barefoot in this kind of event, but in these conditions, I might employ something like a very flat, thin-soled shoe, whatever it may be.
Maybe like a Vibram or one of those toe shoes, things like that.
A Vibram, a Converse, a
Oh yeah, you like the
deadlift
Chuck.
slipper.
You're a Chuck man.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but definitely I would be looking to minimize the distance that the weight has to travel and minimize any kind of angle on the foot.
Right. That makes absolute sense to me. In lane 1, we should have Colton. In lane 2, we should have Greg. So far, the lead is... So far, we have a tie for first place in Connor at 25 and Logan at 25. So that gentleman that went by himself ended up taking first place so far.
Awesome. So a two-way tie, and we have, so out of all of the athletes that have gone in this class, everyone has gotten over 20 repetitions.
Every athlete. That's incredible.
This is going to be, so it's incredibly important that these athletes are able to hit that 20 repetition mark if they want even an opportunity to be in the running.
Lane 1 looks like
podium.
he is a human piston right now. That should be Colton. It looks like he's going exactly for what you said. He wants that, mid 20 repetition range for that podium.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to pull that many because this entire field is pulling that much. It's this is quite the clinic the entire weight class is putting on.
Yeah, this is really impressive so far. I think on average thus far, this 105 kilo amateur division has pulled the most reps on average out of all the competitors, which is really impressive. I mean, you could tell it's beyond just maximal strength ability here. Like these gentlemen are it's their cardiovascular ability, it's their lactic threshold ability. Like, their legs are cooked right now. It's really impressive.
And you can see these athletes grimacing at the top, just absolutely doing their best to get every single repetition out of this event because they know the difference between 20 and 25 repetitions is going to be several placings in this competitive of a field.
I mean, at that point, after you go through something like that with somebody, you can do nothing but shake their hand and thank them for the experience together. Those boys really went after it.
You've suffered together.
Right.
And so everybody on our score sheet that we can see right here has scored between 21 and 25 repetitions, which means those 4 repetitions separate more than 5 placings.
Massive.
So every repetition is incredibly important. That's why you see these athletes, I'm sure that they're completely aware of that, and I'm sure that they know that even one repetition could mean 2 or 3 points.
And we have a new leader in that last heat, Greg, pulling 26. So getting that edge over the rest of the individuals, that's massive.
Getting that one
rep.
extra repetition
And he knew.
Put him into first place.
Right. In this heat, we should have Brandon Swole and Kyle Henderson. I believe we have Brandon Swole in lane 2 and Kyle Henderson on lane 1. Lane 1 being to the left and lane 2 being to the right of screen.
Excellent.
And lane 1 is going after it. I'd imagine that gentleman's been counting the reps. He probably knows exactly what he has to do.
Yeah, our athlete in lane 1 is just, as you said, an absolute piston. Just up, down, up, down. Our athlete on the right seems to be struggling a little bit more, but he's still giving it his best effort. It does look like his feet are a little bit far back, but from this angle, it's rather hard for me to make a decisive call on that. But it does look as though his shoulders are quite forward, and that's usually indicative of feet being a little bit too far back in this movement, which makes the movement much, much harder than it has to be.
And why is that? Why does it make it harder?
It's because we have a fixed movement pattern with this deadlift implement. It is only able to move on a certain arc, and if you do not conform your body to that movement and applying force in the correct direction through that movement, then you are fighting the implement, not just the weight. Right. You have to lift a car. Isn't that hard enough?
Yeah, right.
But no, some people decide, no, I think I want to fight the implement as well.
I want to fight this whole thing. This apparatus.
The world against me.
Yeah. So essentially, you are wanting to carry the deadlift in that arcing position, in that style, in that almost like a crescent moon pattern that it creates as you're lifting the bar here.
Absolutely, yeah. There is, and it's not a straight line, as you mentioned. There is a curved, somewhat arc of movement that's occurring.
So that last heat should have been Brandon Swole and Kyle Henderson. We'll see what their scores are. Oh my goodness, Brandon Swole with 28 reps taking the lead, and Kyle Henderson with 10 repetitions. Really great work out of Brandon Swole there and Kyle Henderson. In our next heat in lane 1, we should have Spencer Wilson, that gentleman who we mentioned. Actually, Spencer Wilson is in lane 2, and we should have Joey. I was just saying Joey Stampede in lane number 1.
I'm gonna say Stampede, and if he gets upset with me, then that's perfectly fine. I accept it.
So Spencer's one of those gentlemen that we pointed out that's really someone to keep an eye on.
This heat is going to be intense.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Both of these athletes are incredibly talented, incredibly strong. Joey and Spencer are both going to be repping this out. It looks like Spencer is away and moving swiftly. He's a little bit taller of an athlete, so his range of motion is actually greater, but he is one of our larger athletes today. I think he's the largest 105 here. He's absolutely the largest in the amateur division, and I think he's the second largest out of the pro-am division as well, if he were to compete in that. Yeah, and you can see that he is focused completely on his judge. At first, I was worried that his feet might have been out of position, but it looks like he's settled back. His weight is shifted back. You can see his chest is staying up. He's utilizing those larger muscle groups, those quads, the hamstrings, and the glutes to really pull this weight back into position. And you can see Joey is off and running. His pace is actually even faster.
Yeah, his pace
I told you this would be
this heat's incredible
amazing
right now.
Heat.
Both are staring down their judge like they owe them money, making sure that they get every bit of every rep.
Wow, so I think this is going to be our 1 and 2.
Failure repetition by Spencer.
Yep.
Spencer is more than likely totally okay. I think he's just absolutely fatigued.
Yep,
I mean, he really pushed the limit there.
And he was also beginning to get that balance, that lean back. And so sometimes, especially in wet conditions like this, where there might be a little bit of debris on the mat, we can slip. We can see people slipping occasionally. I've seen it many times before. Even, I've slipped before, not gone down extremely hard, but that does happen in competition, especially when there's a little bit of rain involved. So, So yeah, that atmospheric river is doing us no favors today.
Dirty right now. However, that being said, whatever. I'm not gonna say anything. But Spencer really put in a fantastic performance there. I honestly think Spencer's a-okay. I think he truly just brought himself to exhaustion and effort.
Yep. And he is one of those athletes that pushes to the absolute.
Yeah, he doesn't stop when it's over. He stops when he can't. Yeah, and there's a big difference.
When it's done.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And he's up and moving now. Great job. Great work to Spencer there, and to Joey. Joey, oh my goodness, Joey with 34 reps, Spencer with 33. A 1 rep
and
difference.
There was a 1 rep difference, and
Oh my!
Spencer may have had that small slip right there at the
Right,
end, but
that
he
could have
was
been
on his way up.
He really was. Wow, that was incredible.
That was
Wow. That goes to show you what it comes down to. Milliseconds. It comes down to fractions of an inch. It comes down to just one extra moment of effort. Maybe making sure your foot's in the right spot so you don't slip. And for Joey, who started off behind, he found his rhythm, and once he found that, he did not stop. That was really something special.
So okay. So we talked about Alicia Oden earlier.
Yeah.
29 repetitions, the most that we had seen.
We just saw 34, then 33.
What did we just watch? What's happening here?
That's the most deadlifts I've ever seen in a strongman contest.
That is absolutely absurd. 33 and 34 in the same heat.
And now we have Ben Pace and Nolan out here. Nolan being in lane 1 and Ben being in lane 2.
And they're off and running as well. They're moving very swiftly through these repetitions.
Nolan with really good body positioning here.
Oh, man, he has great body position. I would like to see his shoulders back maybe just a tiny bit more, but honestly, he's probably in his own groove.
Yeah,
he's probably in his own groove. I really, and I look for that 0.1% of improvement that could be had. His movement is almost perfect.
Yeah, he's damn near perfect. He's stopping right now. Looks like there's a bit of an issue with the judging. But he's back at it now.
He just stops, takes a quick breather, gets back to work. Both of these athletes putting in a ton of work.
It looks as though right now both of these boys will be in the repetitions of 20, which is what they need at minimum.
Yeah, to be in the running again with the first and second place in that division being 34 and 33 repetitions, which is absolutely insane. I can't reiterate that enough. I've never seen a car deadlift go for 30 reps.
34 repetitions by one athlete is sometimes more than the total amount of repetitions you'll see in a whole strongman contest.
Yes. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Absolutely. And I knew that both of those athletes were going to perform.
I didn't think it'd
put
be
on
the
quite
30s.
a show. And I said that that's how it was going to be, but I did not expect that kind of performance.
That was crazy.
I did not expect over 60 total repetitions in one heat.
That's really something incredible. I can't
think about that.
I'm telling you, that's more than most total shows of all classes. You know what I mean?
That is an incredible. If an event is sufficiently heavy, sometimes there's going to be the whole field can be between
3
0
reps, 5 reps, 0,
and 6 reps.
Yeah.
And so we have athletes that in one heat lifted over 60 repetitions.
That's incredible. Ben Pace here pulling 19 repetitions, and Nolan with 23 repetitions, ultimately getting himself 7th place. So going over the top 3 in that particular grouping of 105 amateurs, we have Joey in first place with 34 repetitions. We have Spencer in second place with 33 repetitions. And in third place, we have Brandon with 28 reps. When did 28 reps ever get third place?
Can we look
in
at
any
who's
show?
In fourth? Because it's
fourth place,
it's not that you got robbed, but it's
26 reps for fourth, just too shy.
That is just
buddy, and that's Mr. Greg Delp.
Oh man, that's brutal to pull that many repetitions and to not even be in the top 3 is that's absurd. And we have an incredibly strong middleweight men class today.
So right now we have our first 2 of who I believe are open division athletes. That should be a Kyle Bossum and a Skylan O'Brien. Forgive my pronunciation, Mr. O'Brien. Assuming we're in the open division right now.
It does appear that we are. Okay, so Kyle and Skylar, let's see what they've got. They're about to strap in. We got one athlete in lane 2 with figure 8s. And do we have normal straps on? Did he even strap in?
He strapped in. Oh, he didn't even strap in. He's not even. He has his thumbs over the handle, and he's not. He's in fingertips.
Just don't worry about it.
Finger tipping.
He's saying, "Hey, I got this. It's my grip. I got vice grips on these arms.
Incredible.
Don't worry about it.
Incredible. That's actually shocking."
Yeah, and his mechanics are incredible as well. If you see his knees are out and his hips are back, his chest is up. He's utilizing the correct groove. He's moving very well.
And that is the danger of potentially not strapping again. He literally just lost grip. Now, you mentioned the different types of grip strength yesterday. What type of strength is he eliciting right now?
He is using an isometric type of grip strength. So again, for those of you that did not tune into yesterday's broadcast, I highly suggest you check out the morning and the afternoon. That is the amateur and the pro-am sections. But today, Yesterday we talked about the 3 types of grip strength. That is isometric grip strength, crushing grip strength, and pinch grip strength, which is really the ability to apply force with the thumb. But yes, athletes that are not going to utilize straps in this event are going to be using the isometric type of grip strength. And that was an incredible grip display, let alone the perfect mechanics that he was utilizing until that small stumble.
That was incredibly, I mean, honestly, I don't know if you'll, I would say there's less than 3 people in the entirety of the show that could do a car deadlift event and do probably equally as well with or without straps. That's wild.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible, and that just shows that he's put a lot of effort into developing that grip strength. And to grip strength is one thing that some people have in abundance, but very typically when we're competing in a contest like this, you have to work on that grip.
Yeah, I agree.
And so he's very likely just worked.
We have a heat right here. Let me tell you something right now. In lane 1, we have Tyler. In lane 2, we have Michael. This heat is going to be the heat to watch. Both of these men are viciously strong, and I use that word very intentionally. They are so strong. Tyler being, honestly, one of the next superstars in the sport, in my opinion, within the open division. That man is, I believe he's 20 years old in lane number 1, going on 33 years old based on the size of his body and strength.
And so, so I have seen, and I've actually trained a little bit with Tyler. He goes by Ty, yes?
Ty, yes.
Yeah, excellent. So he and I have done a little bit of yoke and farmers together.
He's 20 years old.
Oh, yeah, incredibly strong. I happen to know that he comes from a powerlifting background.
Yeah, powerlifting background for both of these gentlemen. Michael over here throwing out some reps as well. This is the heat to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. Both of these athletes are just cranking out repetitions. They're having great communication with the judge, making sure they're getting the down call at the top, making sure they're getting the up call at the bottom, and just repping this
first break
out.
For both of them. You know, before this event, Ty walked up to me. He goes, "How many reps am I getting?" I said, "So you can't." He goes, "All right, I'm getting 20."
20 all right. It is.
So we'll find out. Ty and Michael pushing themselves to the absolute limit here. It doesn't even look like we're at muscular fatigue. It looks like we're at cardiovascular fatigue for both of these gentlemen.
Absolutely, yeah. We see our athletes starting to fall out of position a little bit and utilizing more of their posterior chain, not really pushing those knees forward and getting in an advantageous position to activate those quads. But that was an incredible effort by both athletes.
They both pushed themselves to the absolute limit. Both are labored in walking off this platform here. Both putting in a fantastic performance. I cannot wait to see the total repetitions out of the two of them. The leading reps as of now in the open men's division and the amateur side is 19 by Kyle. So let's see what these two boys just did.
Yeah, so that was a very impressive heat.
Wow, so Ty with 23 reps and Michael at 19 tying the other individual at 19. Okay.
So it looks like Ty or Tyler got his goal of 20.
Yeah, he met it.
+3.
He asked me, what should I do? I said, go till you can. And that's exactly what he did.
Yep. Bull till you can. Hey, I think some of our athletes that have traveled a little bit far for this, just a little bit, deserve a little shout out. What's this awesome necklace you got?
I have been honored by Team Hawaii with a authentic lei made out of tobacco leaves. This is genuine here, super real, and it's incredibly long. So thank you very much to Team Hawaii. Huge shout out to you guys for providing this fantastic lei for me. I feel very honored. And speaking of things that are also fantastic, we have our next heat coming up here, and Brady and Matt coming up in this next heat here.
Excellent. So looks like they're about to get the lift call, and there it is.
We should have Brady in lane 1, and lane 2 should be Matt.
Yep, so there's the quick strap in from lane 1 with those figure 8 straps, and lane 2 is taking a little while to get perfectly set, get everything right before he begins his effort. And this really illustrates how heavy this implement is. These athletes are pacing themselves very well, lifting the truck. But as you said with the last heat, 23 repetitions and 19 repetitions, that's quite a few reps.
That's a lot of reps. We have 2 individuals at 19 and 1 so far beyond 20. So we might have seen some of the, potentially top 3 in the event already, but we'll see. These boys are cranking out reps right now really well. Looks like a little bit of fatigue is setting in for them. It looks like they also manipulated the distance of the handles closer to the vehicle now because we're in the open division, so it is a heavier weight in hands.
Yep. And so I also see some of these athletes coming out and getting pretty fired up. Excellent performance by our athlete in lane 2 right there. A smile, a nod, some camaraderie there.
Yeah, I mean,
giving each other a handshake, a high five, a hug.
it's almost like a psychedelic experience. You came out here and you lifted a car 10 plus times with some stranger you might not have ever met, and a bunch of weirdos are staring at you and cheering it on. It's a very weird experience if you really break it down.
How
could you not be happy?
It's
a beautiful experience.
It's a beautiful experience, really. Coming together for a common passion.
Yeah.
And being able
lifting
to.
vehicles.
Yeah. My passion is lifting vehicles.
Thanks again, Burn Chevrolet, for providing said passion tools. Thank you so
Hi,
much.
I'm Zach, and I like to lift vehicles. I have a problem.
On that car.
The trucks have the bigger problem.
Yeah.
No, the suspension's going to be messed up.
Oh, man.
Excellent. So we got our next group of heavyweight athletes coming out.
We should have Christopher in lane 1 and a Justin in lane 2. Again, that should be Christopher in lane 1, and it should be Justin in lane 2, assuming our score sheets here are correct.
Excellent.
All right, looks like they're ready.
Okay, so our head MC, Grant Higa, is giving the athletes the ready, set, go. So we are off and running. We got the figure eights. We got both athletes strapped into the implement here. They're taking a little bit of time to reposition. You can see them positioning their feet slightly more forward, getting ready, getting it right, and beginning the movement. We got, all right, so our athletes are settling into that groove, and looks like we have a strong performance from both guys. Very steady, very controlled.
Yeah, they're at a very rhythmic pace here. Clearly, these gentlemen have an idea in their head how many reps they can do.
Awesome. All right, I would like to see athletes starting with their chest slightly more upright. In lane 1, we're seeing that, but in lane 2, we can see that he's starting with his chest a little bit down, and really his head is a little bit forward. Do you think that that's going to make the movement a little easier or harder for that athlete in lane 2?
Well, lane 2, again, like you mentioned before, essentially what you're trying to create is a perfect line that mirrors the pattern of the apparatus. So if your shoulders are a hair forward in front of your feet, you are going to essentially have more weight in your hands that isn't supported structurally by your body. You're going to be out of position, essentially. So ultimately speaking, whether it be a car, a straight bar, a stone, or anything, you want to move the object in a way that it is supported by more joint and your joints and more muscles as possible through proper positioning. And, if you're a little forward in the shoulders there, you're not going to be able to have as much body underneath you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's gonna, it's gonna cause issues like we saw a little bit earlier with one of our athletes coming up onto the balls of their feet and those heels coming up. And that's going to place more strain on the entire system. It's going to fatigue you out faster. It's going to make it so you can't apply as much force. It's going to cause a slew of issues. Not to mention that these athletes still have one more event in the day. So they're going to have to manage that kind of fatigue.
Exactly. We're not done yet. And it is an event where we are picking something off the ground, the same muscles that we're using here for the most part. So we're essentially pre-fatiguing them.
Yeah. Extreme pre-fatigue.
Yeah. some real sick pre-fatigue. So in this heat here, we should have a gentleman named Sturgeon and Dominic should be our next athletes. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name there, Sturgeon. I'm just going by your last name, Anderson. Mr. Anderson should be in lane 1, and we should have Dominic in lane 2. That's a awesome name. It's a
little Matrix reference for the people that are old. I feel you out there.
I love it.
All right.
All right, so both these gentlemen are getting laced up into the bar, and we already have reps in lane 2.
Wow,
by
Sturgeon. An aggressive pace. Looks like there's a slight pacing readjustment in lane 2. He was off to an incredibly fast start, slowed down a little bit, and now he sped back up. Looks like he's feeling out his pacing. But I think that this could be a top 3 performance in the weight class.
It really could be.
In lane 2.
Yeah, both these gentlemen are really pushing on now, but also lane 1 now is catching up. He found his groove. He just repositioned his feet. It looks like he's back in the game here. Both these gentlemen are reaching points of fatigue right now, getting themselves back together, getting their breath about them.
Yeah, and this is a very tough event. This is one that is the weight is bearing down on you with extreme prejudice.
I love that. It's extreme prejudice and weight. I love that a lot. Again, for those listening, so far the max repetitions completed was by Tyler in 23. In second place, we have 2 individuals at 19. So we'll see what these gentlemen got right now in this.
Yeah, I am excited to see the repetition count on that because I do think that we have we had quite the performance out of both athletes, but in lane 2, that was a lot of repetition.
Yeah, he came out hot. I'm really excited to see what he did here. We'll find out very shortly by the wonderful Laura Anderson, who is running our scorecards today. So a huge shout out to Laura Anderson, who traveled all the way from North Carolina just to help run us scorecards for this contest. It kind of speaks volumes to the level and the respect that this show kind of has at this point. So a huge shout out to Laura Anderson. You're the best, bud. We really appreciate you. And for those that don't know, Laura Anderson is one of the greatest lightweight women of all time. She's the first lightweight woman to ever load 300 pounds stone rather. She's an unbelievable athlete. World's podium finisher, multiple-time American strongest woman, multiple-time national champion. Laura Anderson's the real.
I wish we could get her over here for an interview, except she's, like
running the whole show.
She's out here doing the damn thing.
Right. So just to what you called before in our last heat, it looks like Dominic in lane 2 got 21 reps, putting himself in second place solidly.
Oh, right. Excellent. So that was an amazing pace, and both of these athletes are coming out relatively hot as well.
Right now in lane 1, we have William, and in lane 2, we have Brian. These boys are getting some reps right now. I love to see it. Lane 1 has some really great foot positioning here. Really leaning back into each rep, utilizing his quads and his upper back tightness to finish the rep.
Yeah, but at a certain point, you really, the athletes that are extremely focused, extremely experienced, they can keep eye contact with their judges. They're very aware. But when you are pushing to the absolute limit, like some of these athletes were, and like I would have expected to see that out of lane 1, you stop making eye contact with that judge, and they are absolutely giving 100%
you go to another place,
of themselves.
Right.
Yeah, in the last 2 or 3 repetitions, they may not even remember it because they are just saying go.
Right.
Things begin to kind of disappear, and the focus of everything comes down to the next repetition. Next repetition.
Right now, we have the gentleman in lane 1 really just push himself to extreme fatigue. It'd be very good if they pulled his knee sleeves down on that gentleman as he rested. But ultimately speaking, he's up now. He's doing great. He's okay. Big round of applause from the crowd. I think ultimately he didn't hurt himself. He just pushed himself to the extreme maximal limit.
And that does happen occasionally. It depends on the athlete, depends on how hard you're pushing, depends on your nutrition, your training program. It depends on what you're ready for and what comes up in the contest.
Yeah.
He may have been an athlete that was more prepared for an extremely heavy 5 repetition event.
Right.
But this was not.
No, this is Rep City.
Yeah, this was quite a few repetitions, and that kind of workload can really catch up with a lot of these athletes, especially if you're not prepared for that.
Absolutely, and both of those athletes actually tied at 16 reps. And again, at any other show, 16 reps on a deadlift, you're usually coming in first.
Yeah.
But it's unbelievable right now that our average is right around 20, even in the open divisions.
Well, even 12 repetitions is extremely fatiguing, and we're talking about athletes that aren't in the top 3 with 16. 16 is a ton of repetitions.
Yeah, it's unbelievable amount. Like we mentioned before, on average, it wouldn't be shocking to see a strongman show where people get 3, 5, 0. But we're getting in the high teens.
Absolutely, and there's nothing. I want to talk on zeroing for a second because
on what?
I want to talk on zeroing for a second.
Goodness.
Some people might look at that and be like, "Oh, that sucks," but it's really it's an experience that athletes can learn from, and it is the kind of gut check that you need sometimes. Yeah. I remember my very first car deadlift, I zeroed it.
Yeah.
And like half of the field zeroed it because it was really heavy, but it also taught me, hey, I need to get better at this event.
To get strong.
And it became one of my extremely great events.
Yeah.
And that's what you need sometimes is that little gut check.
Yeah, it's good to have a reason to want to get better at something, especially if you're something that you're not naturally inclined. But here we have, in this final heat of the open divisions, we have Charles in lane 1. In lane 2, we have James. Both these guys putting everything they got. You can tell James there put everything into that last rep that he just completed. Deciding to opt out, taking his belt off and actually getting back into it. His belt was in his way. This would be interesting.
Fantastic. He's saying, I'm not done. I'm not
and
done.
He's not, and he got another. Fantastic by James.
Fantastic.
Let's go, James. Let's go, Charles. Fantastic heat here.
I love to see that kind of grit. I love to see athletes.
He said, sod this belt. Forget this thing.
No, I don't need it.
It's
out of here, but I'm not done. Fantastic. All right.
So we are done with our open men's division. We are going into our next, our final division here. actually, we signed up for our final event. So that being said, we like to huge shout out to Buren Chevrolet. Thank them so much for supporting this event and supporting all our athletes today. You know, I want a huge. We're going to sign out now and give a bit of a break between me and Mr. McCauley. So thanks again for helping me out here, man.
Yeah,
and,
no, thank you so much, and thank you so much for the entire team, all of the staff that are out there helping out in the rain. The sun's coming out a little bit for us, and I think that's well deserved. Everybody over at Swoop, that's Swoop Sound on Instagram. You should go check them out. Go give them a follow. We got your Instagram as well, and Zach McCarley, blah blah blah. They're down on
follow
the
his
screen.
YouTube.
Yeah, but we're going to be signing out briefly right here, and we will catch you guys in the third event, which should be up in the next 5 to 20 minutes.
All right.
So we will see you then.
Later, guys.
All right, guys, we are back with the action. We have made a last-minute change from the stone to shoulder over to a sandbag to shoulder ladder. Alec, can you tell us about this event?
Oh, well, I can tell you this event's awesome. Essentially, what we have right in front of us, we have 3 sandbags that are waterlogged, so a lot heavier than written, where these athletes are going to have to approach each sandbag and attempt to get them to their shoulder. Now, it can't be on the chest, it can't be behind us, but directly on their shoulder and display a position of not only just command, but essentially what would you say, positional awareness, control, display control, letting one arm go off to the side to show that they're judged, that they have control of the bag that you just saw there in lane number 3. So it's a very fun, dynamic event. We're really looking forward to it. Zach, have you ever had to do a sandbag to shoulder event before?
I have not had to do a sandbag to shoulder in contest, but I have done a lot of stone to shoulder and sandbag to shoulder in training. In fact, this was one of the old training tools that we would like to use at the legendary warehouse that we used to train in.
Okay.
So before before strongman was really accepted into commercial or CrossFit gyms, or even before CrossFit was a thing,
right?
Period. Like actually before it existed, strongman was here and there and in garage gyms and in rare locations of ma and pa gyms, and also in one very special place in a warehouse in the Renton, I always call it Kenton, but it's Renton, between Renton and Kent, Washington.
Okay.
There was a warehouse where a group of us would train at 6 a.m. on Saturday mornings, and it was very Rocky-esque. So
That's
it was
awesome.
It was amazing.
That's so, and that was so. This was a style of training that you elicited to work on your stone techniques. It sounds like.
Yeah, so we would do a fair amount of stone to shoulder, and we would go back and forth 1 repetition each until someone would reach failure and they could no longer do it. And that was actually one of the first videos that I ever had up on YouTube.
Oh, that's awesome. So is that still on YouTube now?
It is still on YouTube.
Wow.
It's a 307 stone. I think it was a 307 stone load actually, but we definitely have some stone shoulders. Anyway, getting way off topic. We got the sandbag to shoulder here.
We do.
You know, this is going to be one of those classic loading type events.
And for those watching, in lane 1, which is furthest to the left, we have a women's lightweight open division. We have the women's amateur division, the lightweight division. We have the women's middleweight amateur division in lane number 2. And in lane number 3, we have the men's middleweight division in lane number 3 there. And in lane number 4, I believe we also have, we actually have the men's open amateur division. So one of each weight class right in front of us, all going at it one at a time. We have now restructured the order in which, those going from those in last place will go first. Those in first place are going to go last.
All right. So, yeah, we have had a reshuffling of the order of athletes. That is to say, as we get closer to the end of the field, we're going to have the athletes that are really battling for that podium position.
Right.
Do you think that that's kind of an advantage for those athletes to be
come on,
going
man, I know it is.
last?
It's
well, can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely massive. So if you're in first place, or let's say you're in second place, and you're really gunning for that top position, it really behooves you to see what your competitors have done prior to you. Because if you know I need to get an X amount of reps in, or in this case, X amount of sandbags in at a certain amount of time, you're more than likely to be able to do that because you know what time to beat. Whereas your competitors, if they're coming out before you, all they know is I need to go fast. I need to go fast. So it's a really fun way to kind of change up the show and change up the event to where, it gets more exciting, because if that person coming out last doesn't happen to match the efforts of the individuals prior to him or her, we're going to know. And that person's also going to know. So it's a really great way to end a show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that it is a tremendous advantage to be going later in the field because you do know what numbers to meet or you have to beat, and you also can set up a more effective strategy. Right. If no one has shouldered the last sandbag, you know that there's going to be time splits on every sandbag. Really, the event becomes shoulder 2 sandbags as quickly as possible. Third one is just bonus for the ego, maybe for the PR, maybe for your coach, maybe for your training partners, maybe for your family, your significant other, for the crowd, blow them kisses, whatever you need to do, whatever you feel you want to do.
Absolutely. And Connor in lane number 3 is blitzing these bags right now. Really outstanding performance out of Connor there.
All right. So very swift. There's a slight hiccup on that second one for Connor in lane 3, but
so Zach, tell us about the potential technique options we could have, or what we might see today getting the sandbag to shoulder.
So this is an interesting one. It does seem that there's a couple different techniques you can use, but again, what is going to dictate the technique that you use is your own body dimensions as well as the dimensions of the implement. We're going to see slightly different techniques used for the lightweight women as will be used for the middleweight men, because they're going to have different body dimensions and the shape of the implement changes somewhat. So for the women, what we're going to see is the are more spherical. They're still cylinders, but they're still somewhat spherical. For the men in general, they're going to be a lot more cylindrical, and that's going to mean that there's going to be a longer edge, we'll say, and that's longer dimension.
And that's basically just due to the fact that there just happens to be more sand in them, right?
Yeah, and that is exactly what it is. These are not spheres like stones are. These are actually cylinders.
Yeah.
And a shorter cylinder is like sphere-esque with some edges. Yeah. But again, it's a sandbag, so it's soft. And really, that's what they're going to be battling is they're going to be battling a lot of that sand moving around while they're trying to shoulder this.
Yeah, I totally agree because it's going to move on them. So here we are in our next heat here. We have Tasha Wolf in lane 1. In lane 2, we should have Nathan Allen. In lane 3, we should have Nathan Allen. In lane 2, we should have, it's not updated quite yet.
And they're off.
Let's go. Let's see what we got here. We know for sure Tasha Wolf is in lane 1 there. Tasha's gunning for that first place position today. She has a great battle in Jessica. So Jessica will be watching her to see what Tasha does.
She's been extremely dangerous today. A very high level athlete.
She's stopping to get some chalk. Interesting move. Now she needs this bag. So far, only 2 bags have been completed.
She's got it in her lap. We can't see it on the screen right now, but she's got it in her lap. She's starting to come up, kind of struggling with it a little bit.
That bag unfortunately rolled on her. It flipped on her lap position. And here's Tasha sitting there talking some smack with a sandbag in her lap. I think at this point she knows she's not going to get the bag. And she's doing squats. Now we're doing squats.
Get a little workout in. Boy, that is a shame that was not on the stream because that was pretty great. It looks like we had athletes in lane 3 and 4 make it to the second bag. And the athlete in lane 2 was still working on that first bag at the end of time expiring. So this does seem like it's an event that has become more popular recently, and I do like that about strongman, how events will cycle.
Oh yeah, we have cycled events, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there have been events that were very popular for a time frame, and then they fall out of favor, and then they come back years later, and then we have new events like this. You know, I really don't even want to say this because I hope that it does not come back.
What?
But one that I do not miss.
Which one?
That was towards the end of my very active career was the stone load for height.
Oh, so lame.
I hated that event. It was
so brutal.
Stupid.
Such a brutal event.
But it wasn't brutal in the rude sense.
It wasn't.
Which is fun.
It was just brutal.
Rude is code for fun up here. Rude and brutal. But it was one of the events that there are certain individuals who have massive advantages.
Oh yeah.
If you are taller in that event, you have massive advantages to athletes that are shorter, especially when people are loading to heights that are in excess of 6 feet.
Right, I absolutely agree. It really comes down to anatomy at that point, which kind of makes things not as fun, frankly. But here we are in our heats here. We have another lane of athletes. We have Jessica Wan coming up next. Now Jessica knows that she has to beat Tasha's time of 17 seconds in completing 2 bags, and if she does so, she's going to get ahead on some points. Now, that being said, we want to take a moment to really thank our sponsor here for this sandbag to shoulder medley, originally supposed to be a stone to shoulder, in Kabuki Strength. Kabuki's awarding all athletes sponsorship to the winners of the Pro-Am divisions and giving all athletes a month free of coaching. That's a really incredible opportunity to gain some coaching and some learning expertise from the Kabuki, our main sponsor for this event. So we want to thank Kabuki Strength so much for sponsoring this event. It's really awesome of them to do. And it's nice to see a company like Kabuki getting involved in strongman, traditionally being a powerlifting-focused company.
Absolutely. I know they're starting to work on strongman stuff a little bit over there, and it is exciting to see that because that Kabuki and Kabuki Strength Labs over in the Portland area, they're quite the force to be reckoned with. They have some amazing coaches there. They have an amazing team established.
Joe Stella being their strongman coach.
Absolutely, who we will see him competing later today in the Pro-Am.
That's right. We can see Joe compete. So it's really nice to see bigger brands, bigger name companies getting involved in the sport. It's really just a sign that the sport is growing. Right now, we have an incredible heat in front of us. Lane number 3 with a dynamic finish. Lane 1 giving everything she's got to this final bag. It seems like the bag might get the best of her today, but she's really putting a valiant effort. Let's see here. And it might be done for lane 1.
Looks like Jessica Wong. Time has expired. She was able to shoulder 2 of the bags. Yeah, but we did have a finish in lane 3.
We did. We had a finish in lane 3. A really fantastic performance there. I believe that gentleman was a middleweight. I believe that gentleman, let's see here. That might have been a Colton Hodgson. We'll see once these scorecards are updated just a little bit.
Excellent. Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, I heard that we're doing a quick weight change.
So we're bringing in the men's 80 kilo division, I believe now. I believe we're bringing in the men's 80 kilo. We started off with the women's lightweights, the men's middleweight, oddly enough, and then the, I believe, open women's as well. So now we're bringing out 80 kilo men. Maybe they're trying to get a head-to-head setup sort of scenario here. We'll see in just a moment.
Yeah, so we do have only 4 lanes and 6 weight classes, so we're going to have to, at some point, switch weights or use the same weights for several different divisions, but typically every division has their own weight sets because that is, the weight sets are dictated by the ability of the class, and each of the classes kind of has some difference in ability.
Yeah.
So,
yes, we'll see here. From what I can tell, based on the sizes of these gentlemen, it looks like we're having some middleweight gentlemen and maybe the open division men as well come on out. I believe we have a middleweight woman in lane 1 and a potentially open class woman in lane number 2.
excellent. Okay.
So we should have Christina here in lane 1. In lane 2, we should have, I believe we have Coy. Should be Coy here in lane 2. Lane 3, I believe we have Darren competing up here. And in lane 4, we should have Brian. Or pardon me. Yeah, Brian should be lane 4. So we can see here so far, lane number 3 is in the lead.
Yep, with one sandbag shoulder. He's working on the second one.
It just really just goes to show you how hard this event is, because it's not that these athletes aren't capable. It's not like they're not strong. This is just an incredibly, he was so close there in lane 3. Just an incredibly challenging event.
And there's so many challenges to this event, not just to mention the normal event itself, but they are battling wet sandbags.
Absolutely. It's wet sandbags. It's an object that wants to move anyway. It's not a fixed object like the stone to shoulder they've been training for. So it has a lot of different elements to take into consideration.
Yeah, so this is an especially tough one because it's not just that they're battling wet sandbags, but there was an event change, and this does happen in contests, even in national level competition, even in world level competition.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen weight changes on the day of, directly before an event was to take place, several times. And so this is not something that's out of the ordinary, but it is something that athletes have to be prepared for. And, none of these athletes, dare I say none, there's bound to be one or two athletes that maybe utilize this because they didn't have access to stones. So they use sandbags, which would be, an effective alternative to stone training. And it just so happens that they really lucked out on the event. But none of these athletes knew that this was going to be an event coming in. So none of them have trained for this. Right.
So right now in lane number 1, we have Lena Meredith. In lane number 2, it looks like we have Angelica in lane number 2. And in lane number 3, it looks like we have the gentleman Logan. And in lane number 4, we should have the gentleman William.
So our first 3 lanes are...
Lane number 2 getting after it on the 3rd bag already. Angelica with an outstanding performance.
Yeah, and then lane 3, we have... so lane 2 and 3, they're already on the 3rd bags.
Angelica's going to get this bag, and she gets it the first one to complete it.
Yep, that's incredible. She is a extremely promising athlete.
I believe she comes with Team Hawaii here. I believe she came out from there. She's really strong. Not only is she strong, she can throw bags, and she's really great with odd objects. That woman might be a future superstar.
Absolutely explosive. She's demonstrated that she's excellent with explosive power. She's demonstrated that she's excellent with static strength. And now she's demonstrated that she's incredible with the loading ability. So really, she's just got to get herself to some high-level contests, get herself into some very technical training, and maybe round out some of those rough edges that she may or may not have. And she's going to be
a force to reckon.
She's going to be quite a force to reckon.
I tell you what, honestly, with that performance, Angelica, who was behind by only half a point going into this event, she might have stole the show. Because right now, not to say that Shauna doesn't have the inability, but so far, it's clearly been a very difficult task for the majority of the women. So we have Shauna in lane 2 that I just mentioned. In lane 1, we should have Annalise in lane 1. In lane 3, we should have the gentleman Greg Delp, and in lane 4 we should have the gentleman Charles. Here we are. So let's watch lane 2 here. Now if Shauna wants to win this show and keep her lead, she has to get all 3 bags.
I do just have to check in on lane 3 and say that he is flying through those bags. But I do think that you're right to focus on lane 2 and focus in on that weight class, because this is currently a battle for the entire contest.
This is the whole show right here. And lane 3 with it. Just unfortunately falling, not quite getting the rep. I think he can still do it in lane 3. I still think Greg's got this. He's got to focus up. Shauna potentially with a disastrous ending of her day. She needs to get this bag so she doesn't zero the event.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt the score tremendously. I mean,
Oh.
that's going to hurt the total tremendously.
That's such a shame.
I'm sure that she's well aware of that.
I think she knows, and I mean, she's put on such a great performance the majority of this competition. Such a shame to see a potential zero here. Hopefully she can get it here. She has a couple seconds left.
An extremely challenging and I'm sure frustrating, outcome for her.
So it looks like with that, Angelica came back from behind and stole the show. Outstanding performance from the open women's amateur class. That was really fun to watch. So to finish off the day, it looks like Angelica with 38 points and Shauna with 31.5. That was fantastic. Great work from our open amateur women there.
Excellent.
But we still have a whole lot of athletes left.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Again, at this contest, we have over 90 athletes competing.
Yeah. Over 90 at the single contest from all over the United States. Some traveling as far as Hawaii, some traveling as far as the East Coast. We have $30,000 worth of prizes in this contest. And the show that costs right around 60 grand to put this whole show on. Like, this is a very high level show here. All right, in our next heat here in lane number 1, it looks like we are going to have Nicole Scott. In lane number 2, it looks like we are going to have our first 80-kilo man, David Dunlap. In lane number 3, it looks like we have our continuation of the 105 class, and it should be a Dylan. And in lane 4, we have Michael. Let's see what Michael has been doing really well in the gym on the sandbag to shoulder with the stone to shoulder. Let's see if that translates to the sandbag here. Lane 1 already on bag 2. Lane 2 already on bag 2.
Lane 2 is really tearing it up in this heat.
Now he needs to do this. The gentleman's in third place. And a completion out of lane 2. Fantastic work by David Dunlap.
Wow.
David needed that performance coming into this in third place in the 80-kilo division. Now we have Michael on the third bag already in lane number 4 in the open class men's. Let's go, Mikey. He can do this.
I don't think we've seen an open class man shoulder that third bag yet.
He hasn't, but Mikey's right there. He's on his shoulder. He needs to stay with it. Oh, goodness. He lost his breath there. It looks like, unfortunately, just missing out on huge points.
That is a brutal miss. And at this point, there's not enough time to shoulder it. That was one of those really tough ones that you get that way up there. You've spent a lot of your energy. Maybe he went a little bit too soon. Do you think that there could have been a better strategy to that?
Honestly, going into that third bag, it looked like he had about 15 to 20 seconds remaining. He probably could have got there more effective with maybe just 10 and probably still would have got the job done. So maybe a little too fast on those first 2.
Yeah, or maybe even employing a small break right there, a strategic
right.
recovery.
Exactly. It really comes down to all those little things when it comes to this. And ultimately speaking, he did a fantastic job in getting those first 2 bags in a pretty decent split time, but not finishing off that set there could be disastrous for the overall points.
Absolutely.
So it looked like now we have in lane number 1, it looks like we have our middleweight woman in Maria. In lane 2, we have Bobby Leslie. In lane 3, we have Nolan. In lane 4, we should have the gentleman, Brady.
We're starting to get into these higher ranking athletes at this point in the contest, and this is going to be very exciting. I know lanes 1 and 2 are going to be flying. Lanes 3 and 4 are going to be extremely solid.
So I know Bobby Leslie here needs to win this event if he wants to have a chance of winning this show. He flew through that first bag. He's on to the second bag. Gets it pretty quick.
Maria, Bobby, and Nolan all get bags 1 and bags 2.
And Bobby Leslie with a fast time. Outstanding.
Quite a fast time from this up-and-coming athlete, soon to be a world-level competitor.
He will be this year. That man will be going to Worlds. That was a fantastic performance. And Maria opting to finish out on that last bag, saving her body something. Great work by all these athletes. Nolan with a phenomenal finish. Brady here with his last chance to get that bag. Let's go, buddy. Come on, Brady.
This bag yet.
And Brady is going to get the finish.
Fantastic.
First open class man to get all 3 bags. That's huge points for Brady.
And that places him firmly in first place currently in the field.
Absolutely. Honestly, that is going to be the huge difference between, honestly, you can place him anywhere between first and really top 3, top 4 potentially.
Yeah, so currently it looks like he's sitting in 5th place, and I'm not sure by how many points, but I do know that no one has shouldered all 3 of those bags in that weight class yet. So that's a pretty exciting result for him.
That was amazing to watch. In this next heat, though, we have the finishing off results of Alicia Odin will be more than likely in lane number 2, lane number 1. In lane number 2, we're going to have the gentleman who's in first place for the 80 kilo men. Let's see if he can hold on to that. And in lane number 3, we have Spencer, the superstar we mentioned before. And in lane number 4, in lane number 4, we should have Skylin O'Brien. This is a phenomenal heat right here. Let's really pay attention to lanes 1 and 2. This is the end of their divisions.
And I also think that lane 3 may be one of those lanes. He's a young athlete that's up and coming. He might lack a little bit of the refined technique, but I think that Spencer's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Spencer is something very special. In lane number 3, if he gets this. Oh my goodness.
I just have to say, in lanes 1 and 2, they're already to the 3rd bag. And lane 2 is just finished.
Odin sticking with the bag, sticking with it. Oh my goodness, what a save! What a save by Alicia Odin! That was awesome.
So it was just off of screen in the stream, and that's a shame. But what we saw was Alicia was rolling the sandbag up to her chest, and it got stuck. And she had to bump it several times to get it into the correct position where she could take her arm off of it. And she was under that weight for no less than 8-10 seconds.
She was sitting in what would be really a quarter squat, balancing that bag off her chest, fighting it. Every time she popped it, she had to hop forward and recenter the bag midair. That was awesome. Great job, Alicia, with a dominating performance. That's so ridiculous.
She is so athletic.
She literally had to jump in a quarter squat, put the bag further on her body in midair. Unbelievable.
Yeah. It just she's quite the athlete.
Now, I mean, she's also the only athlete to finish all 3 bags, so she easily took first in that event. And really, this whole competition,
she really did that for her.
That was all for her.
Yeah, no, she did that because she wanted to and because she could.
I mean, she was going into that event. She was in the lead by 2.5 points, and it's only going to grow from there. So now, we have in this next heat here, we have appears to be just 2 individuals. It looks like we are going to have a Brandon Swole, phenomenal last name,
amazing
and
last name,
Dominic Togarno in lane number 4. So lanes 3 and 4 here.
All right, nice shouldering right here. That's some pretty crisp shouldering, especially out of lane 3. Lane 4, we have 1 bag down. We're on to 2nd bag for both the athletes. Lane 3 has,
great technique out of these gentlemen.
Yeah, lane 3's technique is very crisp. So is that Braden, if I'm not mistaken?
That should be Braden Swole, yes.
Living up to that last name.
Let's go, Braden. Phenomenal performance here. And in lane number 4, this gentleman might finish this. He might be one of the only. Oh, wait.
And there was oh no, it looks like he lost his balance.
Unfortunately.
After all of that work, it looks like Dominic just seemed to have lost his balance. A little bit right there, dude.
Yes, unfortunately, it took so much energy to get it there, and right now he's exhausted. You can see he's stumbling around. It was a little bit of a stomp on the bag. We understand the frustration, buddy. He worked really hard, and to finish off the day, we actually by 2 100ths of a second, Bobby Leslie wins the sandbag to shoulder for the 80 kilo men.
2 100ths of a second. Oh my goodness. 3.
Ultimately speaking, 3 100ths of a second. Ultimately speaking, though, Vince with the win on the day, ending the day with 14 points, and Bobby Leslie just behind him with 13. Great performances from our 80 kilo men. Alicia Odin ending the day, being the only athlete to finish the ladder, finishing the day with 36 total points. 2nd place with 28.5 in Maria, and 3rd place with 21.5 being Nicole. Phenomenal job, guys.
You know, both of those classes
stacked.
Were
really
stacked. Good. They were okay. So they were only 3 athletes each, but every single one of those athletes
happened to be really good.
What? And like, what is happening?
Yeah,
like that. So, yeah, those are really fun ones to watch, where you can really focus in on the single weight class. There's not a lot of names to remember, but man, they are just so competitive.
That was really phenomenal. And this heat here in lane number 3, we have the very strong Joey Stampek, and in lane number 4, we should have the gentleman Sturgeon.
Yeah, so Joey is one of those athletes that's been around for quite a while, and he is just a great performer and a great athlete in general. He's that athlete that you may remember from the last event, setting the highest number of deadlift repetitions
34
either of us have ever seen in a contest. And now he's going to come out here and he's going to shoulder all these bags for you. He's doing it just because he can. It looks like he's given a little outstanding. He had a little bit of a struggle with that 3rd bag, but shouldered it decisively.
All right, in lane number 4, we have this gentleman fighting for that second bag. It looks like he's going to get this.
And so those sandbags, they are just crushing you as they're on.
I mean,
as they're on your
it's,
chest.
It's quite literally on your chest cavity. You can't breathe. You're not getting full expansion of your lungs. You are then also outputting maximal posterior chain effort and trying to, essentially shuck this thing up your body. It's a hard event. It's also just rad.
Yeah,
also
it is
really
an awesome
cool.
event, but it can't be emphasized enough that those sandbags can shift. And when you breathe out, if it's on your stomach or if it's on your chest, you breathe out and it just fills that cavity that's created.
Yeah.
And then you try to breathe against it, and it's literally packed sand that you're fighting with your, with your
diaphragm, your rib cage.
Your diaphragm, and just trying to get any bit of air into you seems impossible.
It's really impressive. Now we have our final athlete in Tyler Gillard, who, by the way, isn't 20 years old. He's 19 years old. Speaking of future superstars.
Yeah, not even.
Goodness gracious.
This guy is not even out of his teens.
This man
yet.
can't buy a beer.
I almost said that. I wasn't going to say. I mean, who's going to tell him no?
Yeah, well,
right?
Exactly, right. Because honestly, looking at Ty, he's 19 going on 34. Look at the guy. Like he's really a beast of a human being.
Well, his strength is certainly in that range. I mean, he's an incredibly strong athlete.
He told me just before this event, he goes, my goal was to load a 400-pound stone before I left my teens, and I just did that a couple months ago.
Fantastic. That's a fantastic mark to have made.
Ty on the last bag. This would be a fantastic performance if he could finish right now. He's choosing to grab the bag in a long way, squatting in an optimal position to get his hands nice and low. I love it.
Looks like he's going to try to stand up with it high on his chest and get a good bump or two.
Stay with that now, Ty. You stay with that, boy. You got this, Ty.
Yep. He's got to fight it. And it looks like he's almost got it. He's going to get it. There it is.
Let's go, Ty. Letting everybody know.
Fantastic work from the
amazing
19-year-old. Such a young prospect.
Old, lifting a 300, giving us the bird, by the way, on the camera. Lifting a 300-pound sandbag to shoulder, which, by the way, is a lot more than 300 pounds. It's been sitting out in the rain all day. That might be a 330 bag at this point.
Possibly. And so, quite an impressive performance.
Wow, what a finish off the day.
Athlete. I mean, we might just start dubbing him the prospect.
We might call him just Ty the Prospect Gilliard. That being said, this event is not possible without the amazing sponsor in Kabuki Strength. Again, guys, thank you so much, Kabuki, for not only providing a sponsorship for all the program winners, but providing free coaching as well for a free month of coaching to the individuals who win on the amateur side as well. Thank you again, Kabuki, for being up behind us in this event, and it's not only this event but this show. So go ahead and check them out, guys, on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. They put out a lot of free content, especially in the educational realm, and they put out a lot of phenomenal equipment for the world of now strongman, it looks like, and powerlifting.
Absolutely, yeah, they are a fantastic resource for so many different things in the iron sport realm.
Now, at the end of this, at the closing event here, Zach, is there anything that really stood out to you today, now that we're done with the amateur side of things, before we close out our stream here?
There were several standouts. I think that the weight men, the class as a whole,
Vince, Mr. Consistent,
impressive.
Mr. Consistent, Bobby, also
and
very
it was
athletic.
very hard fought. That was an extremely close race. I think that if our score sheets are updated and current, we might actually be able to go through the scores briefly. But,
we'll go through the scores here. I'll pull it up for you.
Yeah, we're also going to be resuming in a little bit with the awards ceremony this afternoon. But we'll give you a quick rundown of where everybody's at. And, the lightweight men, I would say that class with Alicia and
middleweight
Maria
women
and Nicole. Yeah, the middleweight women. I couldn't remember if it was middle or lightweight. The middleweight women, also extremely impressive.
Oh, it was really phenomenal to watch them. And to round off these classes, we have Vince taking the win in the 80-kilo men, Bobby Leslie taking second, and then David Dunlap taking third. And
how tight was that point spread between first and second?
1 point differential.
Between
1 point
first and second.
For 1 point between first and second. Yeah.
Point.
So that 0, for example, for Leslie on the throw, that's what did it. That's what got him.
So that is exactly the kind of thing that can really damage that. And 1 point is literally one placing. And in some of these instances, like the deadlift, let's look at the deadlift real quick for them, just extremely briefly. We're talking about all of their repetitions were within 3 reps of each other, right?
Yeah. So Bobby Leslie with 23, David Dunlap with 22, and then Vince with 20.
Yeah.
Every 20 or more.
Yeah. So
Again,
extremely competitive.
Extremely competitive. Going at the middleweight men on the amateur side, we have our winner coming in first place, Mr. Swole, with the phenomenal last name, Mr. Swole. Then Joey,
Ooh,
then Spencer.
That's a tricky one because it looks like Braden and Joey are
tied for
in
first.
points.
There's a
And
potential for a tie-breaking event today. There's potential.
My goodness.
I really hope that happens. We can't say what it is just in case. But if there isn't a tiebreaker, they'll go on count back and dictate the winner of that division. So I'm hoping for a tiebreaker. I wonder if our promoter, Mr. Hatton's going to have the tiebreaker today. Mr. Hatton, our promoter, do you think we'll have a tie-breaking event today? Because we have a tie for first. Can I do a count back today?
Count back?
We can't do a wonderful hold of some kind? Fair enough. That's reasonable.
Okay.
So what Mr. Hatton is saying here, the promoter of the show, is saying he doesn't want to make anything unfair. It wasn't announced prior about the tiebreaker. So instead, what we'll do is a traditional count back, which is totally reasonable.
Yeah, so what a count back is the first criteria that will be considered in this tie is the number of first place finishes. Whoever has the higher number of first place finishes is going to take that first place out of the two athletes that are tied in points. If the number of first place finishes is the same, then we go to number of second place finishes, and so on and so forth until we have an athlete that has more finishes at a higher rank.
So essentially the most consistent athlete wins. Yeah.
Consistently good. We won't say consistent because if someone took second in everything and then the other athlete took first in one and third in everything else, and somehow the points shook out some straight way, the athlete that took one first would beat out the athlete that took zero first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now going into the amateur heavyweight men, we have Mr. Ty, winning the show at 19 years old with 67 points.
That is incredible.
It's really awesome to see. In
He
second,
really finished strong.
He is. We will see. I'll make the claim now. If this is something that he's in love with, if this is something he wants to pursue to the highest level, which I happen to know it is because I coach his coach, I very much believe we could see Ty at a World's Strongest Man in, I'd say 5 to 6 years.
Extremely promising career in front of him.
He really is. Really something promising. And in second place, we have Surgeon. I believe is how I heard them pronounce his name. And then Dominic taking third place in the open division men. Really phenomenal.
Some very impressive athletes in that group as well. I mean, at this contest, how are you not going to see impressive athletes on the podium?
So, honestly, it was a real, and we get the final celebration of the athletes. But, yeah, it was really impressive to see. Now, going back around to the women's divisions for the lightweight women, we have our winner in Tasha Whalen by a single point.
Wow.
A single point between Tasha and Jessica Wong. Those two were so back-to-back that entire competition, and it came down to split time in the sandbag to shoulder that made the difference for the points there.
That literally decided the contest.
Yeah, and then third place
was that
split.
The split time. It wasn't the amount of weight lifted. It was the speed with which it was lifted.
Exactly. That really goes to show you how close of a race it was the whole day in the middleweight division. Rounding out in third place here, we have Vina with a very respectable 18 points. Vina Nabor, fantastic work out of all three of those lightweight women.
Excellent. And if I'm not mistaken, two of those athletes came from quite a ways away.
Yeah, I believe two of the three came from Hawaii. I think they're training partners. So, and they got them to hit the podium. So it's really phenomenal.
Training
really
partners
cool.
on the podium.
It's really cool. And they both earning themselves invites to nationals. Now Tasha getting an invite to the Arnold Amateur Worlds, which is really cool for her. I believe that might be her first if she goes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So in the middleweight division, not surprising at all considering her performances. Alicia Odin coming in first place with a whopping 36 total points. Maria with 28.5 points in second place, and Nicole with 21.5 points in third place. Really fantastic performance out of all three ladies, but I really got to say Alicia stealing the show. I mean, her performances, let's see here. Let's going over events quickly. First place in the dumbbell. She got first place in the moving event, first place in the truck pull, first place in the sandbag event, first place in the deadlift, first place in the ladder. So she got every single possible point.
So it was a from a placing standpoint, it was a perfect contest.
It was a perfect day.
I think that one of the things that will really push her beyond that, like that excellent realm up through into like the excellent, like exceptional, epic, legendary realm of performance is the fact that she's not exactly pleased with
No.
first.
No,
Like she's concerned
we-
with perfection.
we will hear things that she didn't do right, according to her. Today.
Absolutely.
And that isn't to say that Alicia isn't self-aware and she doesn't appreciate what she's done.
She's such a great.
But the
person.
reality
I'm
is-
so happy. She's
Right.
so positive, but she also
Very.
knows that she expects perfection on the competition field
Right.
out of herself, and that's going to pay dividends.
Right, and the thing is, she absolutely demands the best out of herself. So that being said, I can't wait to see her ideally compete in the Pro-Am next year now. I'd imagine that's be something that she would do. Because honestly, even this year, I think she would be holding her own just fine. So great job to Alicia taking first place there. Now going to Maria.
Extremely impressive.
Super consistent. I really didn't see that coming in that. I haven't seen her lift before. I haven't really seen what
I had
she's able
not
to
seen
do.
her lift either, actually.
So I've seen Nicole lift. I thought she would do a great job, and she did in taking third. But really great work out of Maria and Nicole taking second and third there. And a really a phenomenal division there. Going into the amateur heavyweight women, this was a really stellar contest. Again, another show where it's very close, but Angelica coming away with 39 points in first place. We have, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, and I just want to say, for Angelica, it seemed to me that she wasn't in the lead coming into that last event.
Yeah, almost. I believe. I mean, it looked like Sean. She based on at least the last event that they did prior, Shauna had beaten her in that event, and she came out. She's a really interesting athlete to watch because, again, like you already mentioned, she's statically strong, she's dynamically gifted, and she can move without objects and load. That is basically, that's like the trifecta to being a triple threat. She's a triple threat in strongman. It really is incredible. So she ended up finishing her day with 39 points. Second place was Shauna with 31.5, unfortunately getting a 0 on that prior event. In fact, wait a second, if I'm looking at this correctly, the entire field zeroed the event except for Angelica.
Yeah, so we may want to double check. We may want to double check with our
scorekeepers. I mean, that would be amazing.
But I don't recall many of the athletes getting very deep into that.
I mean, that really kind of goes to show you how talented Angelica is. And in third place, rounding us off with 26.5 points, the fantastic Jennifer Whedon. Really coming in. And there's a huge point differential between third and fourth, for example. So those top three ladies were really running the show, basically the whole contest.
Yeah, and so these are our current scores. Our scorekeepers are going to be double checking all of these scores prior to the official awards ceremony that we will be resuming with in a bit. And actually, we have our schedule over here, so we're gonna get that exact time for you very shortly. And I believe here, you're gonna see this
back here. But yeah, so really.
Okay. So it looks like
What do we got here in terms of time?
Amateur award ceremony should be starting at noon, which is right now.
Okay, so maybe a couple minutes for this award ceremony.
Yeah, we're probably going to have a small transition period.
A little bit of a delay here, mostly due to the weather, so we appreciate your patience, guys. With that being said, I guess at this point, thank you so much for watching. I'm assuming we'll sign off now and come back for the award ceremony for people to watch at least. My name is Alec Jose, and with my partner here,
I'm Zach McCarley.
Thank you for watching, and thanks again to Kabuki.
Yes, thank you to all of our sponsors, and we will catch you guys back here very shortly with the award ceremony, which will swiftly lead into the pro show. So really, do what you got to do. Go get your shopping done, fold some laundry, but get your butt back here.
Tell your kids you love them, but then watch the pro show.
Yeah, get back for the pro show because we're not done with the action. We still have at least 3 hours of strongman this afternoon to provide to you. So a huge shout out to Swoop Sound as well, who's providing this awesome service.
Thanks, guys. And thank you, Swoops, for providing service. And thank you for all you watching. We are signing off now. Thanks, guys.
Take care.